Hello and welcome back to the True Crime Guys podcast. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Michael.
What's up?
What's going on, people? We're back after a week off, nice and refreshed.
Yeah, how do you guys feel about the week off? You think
I feel like it's a great thing.
It's a good thing for us, right?
Yeah, it's definitely
not so much for the listener.
Not so much.
They say consistency is one of the biggest keys to success in podcasting. Your fan base knowing this day there's going to be a new episode. They look forward to it. I'm like that with some podcasts where I'm like,
they don't put an episode. It's easy.
I understand. But if they don't put an episode up on the day they're supposed to, I do get upset. I'm like,
do you?
Yeah, I get it.
I mean, but are you going to stop
listening? I get it, but you guys are now used to us every other week you get a free episode.
Yeah.
And if you're a Patreon, then you get that one in between as well.
To be fair, it is consistent. Yeah.
Yeah, it's consistently inconsistent.
No, it's every other week.
I know, I'm just saying. It's not consistent
Actually,
weekly.
in May, we may be having 2 weeks. No, it's
probably.
Yeah, maybe. Because my parents are coming in town, so
yeah,
that should be fun.
I mean, you know, we got lives.
What do you got to do?
What do you want from us, people?
What do you want? They're like, more episodes, you idiots.
It's pretty fucking obvious.
Duh.
Get on the microphones and record. It's not that hard.
Right? Just get on there and talk.
We are some lazy fuckers. How hard is it to get on here for an hour a week? As busy as our lives are, it doesn't matter. It's no excuse.
No, it's more hours, though.
It's for our sanity, people. Sometimes we just want to enjoy our weekend and not have to do something. We already have to do enough shit.
It's definitely more than an hour a week, dude.
Oh, for sure. It's in a whole day event.
Dude, our episodes are a minimum an hour and 40 minutes now.
And it takes whichever one happens to be driving to the other one. Like I drove here today, 2 hours, 2 hour drive to get here.
2 hours.
So 2 hours, add in
the
2 hours process of recording.
Yep.
Then another 2 hours to get home. It's a long day.
Yeah. And editing after.
Are you not entertained?
Are you bitching? Are we bitching? Have we done enough
We're bitching about podcasting.
We are really bitching on about
some first world shit right here.
Yeah, this is. We should just do
life is so hard, guys. So this week we are doing an episode that you guys have been requesting
heavily
ad nauseum.
Requested.
We're so tired of you guys requesting it that we're just gonna be like,
that's the only reason we did it. We're just like, you know what? Just
to shut all you up.
Yeah.
We're finally gonna do Paul Bernardo and Karla Holmolka.
Yeah. The Ken Barbie Killers.
The Ken Barbie Killers in Canada. Surry, I killed you.
They threw them in the back of their pink Corvette.
Surry.
Drive away.
Yeah. It's a fucked up case, dude.
It is.
Like, it was depressing.
There's a lot of
underage girls,
moral dilemmas in this one for sure.
If you needed a disclaimer to listen to a true crime podcast, here's your disclaimer. I don't know why you're here in the first place.
Yeah, what are you doing here?
You know there's going to be some gruesome shit. It's a true crime podcast, but just in case you need it, this is going to be pretty bad.
We just give random disclaimers. You know that?
There's some rape and moida in this one.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah,
quite a bit.
Yeah,
a little bit of
borderline torture as well.
Yeah, there's not proof of it, but it's highly implied, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe not physical torture, but like what they would do to some of these girls to keep them locked in the closet and stuff. Like, it's fucked up.
Definitely, but I think there was some physical torture going on too.
Yeah,
there's some sadism going on here
for sure. This is one of those pairings that these two people should have never met.
No, they shouldn't have,
or been born. Man. Really, it'd be better if they
remind me a lot of Alvin and Judith Neely.
Yes, yeah, just fed off of each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into it.
All right, let's do it.
The psychopath will use his ability to fool you as proof of his own grandiose omnipotence, omniscience, and narcissism.
Did you kill Elizabeth Bain on June the 19th, 1990?
Anyways, I know I'm giving you guys a hard time about certain things, but I mean, really, I'm a human being, and when you guys do all these things, I've got to, so I'll try and truncate it a little bit more, but anyways, the answer to that is no, but...
He gives the cops hell, he gives the lawyers hell, he protests his innocence, he basically tells them that they're rude and untrustworthy.
The 800-pound gorilla in the room that's a life 25 sentence, It really comes down to credibility, and not only credibility, but then again, timeline. I mean, between what Carla's and my roles were respectively, and this and that. The answer is no to that question.
Like they say, what's a sex offender? Always a sex offender.
The proclivity to be polite in a conversation is very strong. And if you're polite, you don't object to the way that the person unfolds their strategy.
Did you have anything to do with her disappearance?
No.
Did you know Elizabeth Bain?
Not at all. Didn't follow me this much.
The date, obviously, June the 19th, 1990 was the day.
But you know, other than that, I don't remember. You know, maybe I heard about it before, but I can't recall. It's really hard to remember that. But I remember in jail, I had newspapers after that fact.
And then when they answer, he looks at his fingernails, which is like, that's a lovely little manipulative thing, because it basically means whatever happens to be under my fingernail at the moment is much higher priority than listening to your foolish story. And you watch, you'll see people do that to you. And then you get a little insight into what they're up to. He's very good at that.
So, Paul Bernardo and Karla Holmolka were a couple in the Toronto, Canada area that kidnapped, raped, and murdered several girls.
I feel like I should have some light piano going on right now with the way you're phrasing this.
It's dark.
You got real dark on me.
It's dark, man.
You're almost as dark as the narrator of the book we used.
Yeah, so the book we used for this.
Super
Good segue,
dark.
Michael.
Why was she? why was she talking like that?
I didn't see.
She
I don't think
acted like
she.
it
I
was
don't
a
think
horror
she.
movie.
The narrator. I don't think she was dark. I think she was almost too sultry. It was creepy. Like her voice was a little bit like it sounded like she was reading a romantic novel. Like
I disagree. I think she was trying to be intense.
So should we play a second of her voice?
Play a second of it.
Her voice could not have been more sultry, Michael. This is like
you
she
think
she
she's,
should
like,
be in
trying
like
to
the
be
softcore
sexy?
porn business.
Well, she could definitely do that.
Listen to her. Okay, I gotta put it on normal speed.
But that obviously wasn't her intention.
All right, let's let the listener decide. Is
All
this
right.
dark, too dark
wait
and
a minute.
ominous?
Wait a minute. You're on normal speed? I listen to like 1.3
No, I
times.
just put it on normal for the listener.
Oh, it's
I
going to
was on
sound
1.5.
sultry.
You were on 3 times?
No, 1.3.
Oh, okay. There's no 1.3, 1.5.
Yes, there is.
There's
No.
1.25 and 1.5.
Bro, I can listen on 1.3.
Michael's got some.
I got Android.
He's got some
bro.
loopholes. All right. So is this dark and ominous or is this sultry? You guys decide.
Let's listen.
Contact. Others, such as a young girl identified in court documents only as Jane Doe, were quite obviously unconscious.
That's fucking sultry.
Wait, let it go.
When officers viewed the tape, they had no idea at first who the victim was.
And then she pulled his pants down.
Had no idea who the victim was. She's just like,
He slid his hand up her thigh.
okay, well, now that I'm thinking about it like that, you gave me preconceived notions of it.
Right. Yeah, the narrator I didn't care too much for. It was a little much.
But the book, action-packed. It was like a Jack Rosewood.
I was going to say, very much like a Jack Rosewood book. Just the details you need. Pretty
Yep.
much. Not a whole lot of filler.
Mm-mm.
All killer, no filler.
That's right.
Which did an episode on this, right? Didn't
Great
you listen to
podcast.
them?
I did. I love those ladies.
Yep.
I laughed out loud quite a few times.
Over in England?
I lolled.
Yes. Funny girls. All right. So, should we dive into the beginning of the story here?
That's
Get
usually
to-
where we start.
Okay, and then we'll get to them meeting
And
each
then
other.
we'll do like
and-
the middle.
Yeah.
And then we'll do like
end?
the whole conclusion and stuff. And then we'll probably do some shout outs and
And
bullshit.
then-
If you'll say that one more time.
And then. All right. So Paul Kenneth Bernardo was born August 27th, 1964. As far as parents go, Paul did not have the best example growing up. His father, Kenneth, fondled a girl and was charged with child molestation in 1975. He also sexually abused his daughter, which would be Paul's sister.
Right.
And as far as Paul knew, this was his real dad, and
Right.
he didn't find out until
I
he
feel
was
like you're
16.
insinuating it was not his real dad, Lauren.
When he was 16, he found out through his mother telling him that basically this is his stepdad because she had an adulterous relationship.
The book described this situation as it was like an argument between them. They were getting where they were arguing and fighting a lot.
And then she just dropped that bomb on him.
Why would you do that? That's like the worst time to do it.
I've always said, dude, if you want to have like a long-lasting, meaningful relationship with a family member or your spouse, like you can never get to the point where you start going personal on them, personal attacks.
You can't
name
have
calling.
This, you can't have
Keep
this
it civil.
atom bomb behind your back that you're waiting to toss at them in the most angry of moments. That's like the worst thing you could possibly do.
Because people will never forget it, man.
You
They'll
got to
never forgive you
surrender
for
those
it.
bombs, bro.
Yeah.
In a calm way.
Yeah. Paul's mother, depressed about her husband's abuse, withdrew from family life and lived in the basement of their home in Scarborough in eastern metropolitan Toronto. So basically, they were left with this stepdad, and he, on a nightly basis, would take his stepdaughter into her room. And
So what's the mom's deal here, man? What do you think? You think she just can't deal with the situation? What's going on? How she's lost control of the household or whatever?
Yeah, I think
Because
so.
she's got to know what's going on with her daughter and her husband.
Yep. And I just think she didn't really want to have it out with him, and she just probably was sick about it and just kind of was probably really disappointed in herself for allowing this to happen. And now it's already been going on, and rather than stopping it now because it's already too late, just kind of like reserved to go into the basement and
pretend like
it's not going on. Yeah. When he was young, Paul was always happy. He was a cute kid with dimples who smiled a lot. He appeared to be the perfect child, polite, well-mannered, doing well in school, and a Boy Scout. Beneath the charming facade, however, Bernardo had developed dark sexual fantasies and enjoyed humiliating women in public and beating the women that he dated. Not a good sign.
And this was very close to when he found out that he was not his.
Do you think it might have been right after or
this
before?
is
as far as
right
the timeline,
after,
it sounds like it was right before.
Right before?
Yeah, it says when Bernardo was 16, his mother told him that he was conceived illegitimately during an extramarital affair.
Yeah.
Disgusted, he began openly insulting her.
And that's about the time
he
he
might
would
have already
start
been on
dating
that
and
path.
stuff.
I'm sure that he picked up a lot of bad qualities as far as treatment of women from his stepdad growing up.
Right.
You know what I mean?
This
well
is
before he
definitely
even found out that it wasn't his real dad.
This is definitely a nurture argument here.
Right.
Because he was very similar to him.
Yeah.
But he took it a step further. But
well, you got to
I think
assume the
that
way
could
this
be-
guy's, the way that the mother's living in the basement and that this dude's on a regular basis molesting his stepdaughter.
Yeah.
That this is his overall behavior towards women all through Paul's childhood was probably horrific. You know what I mean? Paul didn't know any different because that's the way he was raised. Like people that are raised, like if you're an abusive person towards animals and you raise a kid that way from the time they're little, I'm sure they're going to be abusive towards animals.
Right.
It's what they know.
Yeah. That's a good point.
You know, your kids at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, you just see this kid sees you kicking dogs and doing all kinds of shit, beating whatever
Paul
animals
Paul probably he knew that he saw this stuff and probably wanted to stop it. But I mean, he probably wanted to stop it growing up or whatever. And then I think the transition happened when he lost respect for his mom. When he found out that his mom had cheated on his dad or whatever, and he was illegitimate. And I think that's where he went off the rails, and he was like, fine. He's like, I'm going to be like him. Like
it might have confirmed what his stepdad had taught him about it, like women are no good.
And he may have even gained some respect for his stepdad because his stepdad still took care of him, knowing that he wasn't his. You know what I mean? And he didn't, as far as we know, he didn't abuse Paul, right? He didn't touch Paul.
As far as we know, he didn't.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Bernardo attended Sir Wilfrid Laurier Collegiate Institute in Scarborough and then went to University of Toronto of Scarborough in 1982. Graduated. After graduation, he worked for Amway, whose pushy sales culture deeply affected him. Quote, he brought the books and tapes of famous motivational get-rich and famous experts. So it's
an old pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
I had members of my family that were in Amway.
Oh, really?
I tried to get my parents to join. I remember that as a kid. They come over and they bring dinner. It's like, we haven't seen you in like 3 years. What are you doing here? Get the fuck out of here.
And then just
why are you wearing a polo shirt tucked into khaki?
Midway through the meal. So I got a business proposition for you guys.
Listen,
this is only because I really care about you. I want to let you in on this. I don't offer this to everyone. This is how good this is.
This sounds like a pyramid scheme. That's what they told you. That's what they said you would say. Listen, it's not a pyramid scheme.
But what really I'm looking for is to just be one layer above you in this pyramid scheme. Right. And then you'll be one layer above someone else, and then they'll be one layer above someone else.
Right. And we have a fantastic product that we're revealing in January. It's going to be great.
Sounds like those people that haven't started a podcast yet, but they keep telling you, in May, we're going to start this podcast. It's going to be amazing. Go rate it now.
For episode
you haven't
1.
listened yet, but go rate it 5
Listen
stars.
how good the quality of this commercial is.
Just do the podcast and then start advertising it, please. Bernardo and his friends practiced pickup techniques on young women they met in bars and were fairly successful. Well, he's a good-looking dude as well. That's part of what makes this story fascinating to people is that him and Karla, who he's going to meet soon, they were like this picturesque couple. They were both young and attractive. And
they're smart, too.
And smart.
Paul was smart.
Yeah.
Like, you hear the interviews and stuff. Like, he's got quite the vocabulary.
Mm-hmm. And so let's get to the fateful day where they met each other, which was the exact day that I was born, which creeped me the fuck out.
What?
On October 17th, 1987, the day that I came into this world, Paul met Karla Holmolka, and they were sexually attracted to each other almost immediately. He walked into a bar. She was sitting with some friends, and the book described this moment where it was like she was looking around, and all these guys were looking at her, and she's like, no way. And then she looks over, and then there's Paul just gleaming.
You're so right. You know what? I've totally changed my opinion on her voice. That was totally sultry.
Paul was
right
like
there.
Edward from from the Twilight series. He was like sparkling.
He's sparkling as he walks to the bar.
Just this little beam of sunlight came through the window and showed his sparkles. The damn vampire sparkled.
We talked about the cover of the book, how he looks like a vampire on the book, too.
He fucking totally does.
He looks like a damn vampire on the cover of that book.
Maybe he just looks like a vampire in general. Maybe it's not just the cover of the book.
Yeah, it's true. Maybe it's more more of a situation than you said.
Bernardo. Let's just look up Google image pictures.
He's one of those guys.
You know what?
No,
I've seen documentaries and stuff, and he just kind of looks like a dude. But that
it's just on the cover of the book.
It's the cover of the book made it all dramatic, much as this book did. Like this meeting, where she drops. But supposedly he walks in, they spot each other. He starts walking towards her, and she drops a napkin. Yeah. You remember that part? Yeah. She dropped the napkin and like scooted it in with her leg, and then reached over to show her cleavage.
Yeah.
I don't know if that actually happened like that. Oh, dude, he does. He's intense. He does look like a fucking vampire, even in normal pictures. Like, make that black and white. He's a vampire.
Kind of looks like Billy Corgan.
Those sunken-in cheeks, the sunken-in cheeks, like very prominent, like features. You know what I mean? Like, kind of like pointy nose, like pointy chin.
Look at him bald. Go back one more, right there.
Oh, that's Billy Corgan for sure.
Billy Corgan right there.
Where's your guitar?
Oh my god.
He looks like a vampire there.
Yeah.
The book said he had blonde hair, but in all these pictures, he has brown hair for sure. Oh, there it is. He bleached it for a while. That's what it is. Man. Much like Karla did as well, because she wanted that blonde hair her sister had.
Yeah, they were real envious of that stuff, man. Yeah, I know, it's strange.
He could definitely look alike. He could definitely play a vampire in a movie, no problem.
Definitely. What does he look like now? He's like 53 now.
Yeah, he's old.
Yeah.
He's old. He was in his 20s.
He missed his opportunity.
Unlike the other women he knew, she encouraged his sadistic sexual behavior. Bernardo was openly very interested in the 1991 Bret Easton Ellis novel American Psycho and read it as his Bible. So yeah, they started going goth. Like she started dressing in all black with the dark red lipstick and all that.
Right.
And
yeah, she definitely fueled this fire for him.
The book says that she was kind of always this way, where she was selfish person who like rebellious and dramatic and liked attention any way she could get it.
Yeah.
This book, like you said, seems to put a lot of blame on her as opposed to a lot of other sources you look at.
Yes. The book kind of surprised me because I listened to a few podcasts on it to kind of get a basic concept. Mm-hmm. And then I listened to some of another book and it was very neutral. It was like just facts. But this one, yeah, it made a
lot of vitriol in her direction.
It made Karla play a big role, a really big role. It
almost seemed like she was controlling him through manipulation.
Yes,
like that's the way the book made it.
And I think that's part of why she wanted the blonde hair all the time. She wanted that bleached blonde hair because of the persona that went with the dumb blonde, and she could play ignorant, and she realized that people would do things for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
The book made it sound like though she bleached the hair blonde and played dumb a lot of times. She worked at a veterinarian office and she would play dumb there, and basically it would let people's guard down, and that she would learn more about them that she could use against them.
Yep.
Yeah, but I mean,
she would steal things.
That could also be conjecture. I don't know how much of that is based in fact, but the book, it used a lot of court transcripts and all that stuff. So I'm sure that the writer of this book learned a lot about their personalities through the court,
right?
Through the trial. Well, it was kind of a closed to the public trial, more of a plea deal situation because they didn't want all the details getting out there. We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But Karla, let's start with her birth and upbringing. She was born May 4th, 1970 in Ontario. Holmolka seemed like a normal child, pretty popular and loved by everyone around her. She loved animals and worked at a vet's office. When she was 17, her passion for animals led her to a pet convention. Paul Bernardo, who was 23 at the time, attended the same convention. They met at that bar that night and had sex almost immediately, discovering their shared passion. Yeah, right there on the fucking table in front of everyone.
That's the way the book made it, too. It was like pretty much. It was like they made eye contact and started fucking each other. It's ridiculous.
The book went into a little bit about her as a child, how there was one moment where she stopped two boys from torturing some sort of insect or animal, right?
Yeah.
And then it told another story which completely conflicted that, where she took a friend's hamster and dropped it out the window, the second story.
Yes. To see what
would happen. Yeah. And then she dug up its body later to see its decomposition and stuff. Made her sound very dark.
That did.
And it also made her out to be a person who, whenever, like even as a kid, in a group of friends, they all had to do what she wanted to do. It was always about Karla.
Dude, there's always that friend, right?
There is.
There's
that
always that
dominant
one friend.
personality that it's all about me, and you guys, fuck you if you don't want to do what I want to do.
Yeah, and they're not going to play with everybody else, and you're going to have an odd number. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
Fuck you, man.
I might have been that kid. I was the only child.
If you don't remember that kid.
I might still be that kid. Bernardo, whose sexual appetite was extremely perverse, asked Holmolka if she would be all right with him raping women. She said that she would. And the book made it sound like she really got off on this idea.
Yeah, not only was she okay with it, she was into it.
It seems like they weren't really that into each other, except the fact that they found someone who was as dark as them. And
That's a great point.
No one else they could tell these dark secrets to.
Oh, well, I don't know. I think Karla
would be okay with them.
Karla was attracted to Paul, and I think she did want to be with Paul.
I think
and
initially
make Paul happy.
she was. Yeah.
But I don't think Paul was attracted to Karla. I think.
But do you remember the part in the book where she was joking with friends about his penis and stuff?
Yeah.
So I don't know, man.
It is weird.
It seemed like they just
very toxic, very codependent relationship. But they still needed. You're right. They still needed something else there for it to truly work.
Yeah, I don't know if they liked each other as much as it was just like there was the one person that understood their dark side, and they were able to
they trusted
act
each
out
other.
their fantasies together. That's all it was. Like, I don't think he was attracted to her after just maybe their first month together. I think he was not a one woman type of guy. That's why he was just a sick fuck that always wanted a new thrill, and like of course he was going to almost immediately get bored with her.
It's like he almost wanted the resistance too. He wanted to dominate something. He didn't want someone like Karla who's
consensual sex was not his thing.
No,
it had to be
Karla
against
would
their will.
wait on him hand and foot in that manner, and that just didn't.
It was
do
useful
for him.
to
He
him.
didn't like it.
It was useful to him.
Yeah,
because it could help him acquire other women, which you see with her sister, and Karla would actually help him set up other kidnappings and stuff later.
Yeah.
So Bernardo committed multiple sexual assaults, escalating in viciousness in and around Scarborough. He attacked most of the victims after stalking as they got off buses late in the evening, and became known as the Scarborough Rapist. Before they could figure out who this person was, they knew there was a series of rapes going on in Scarborough. And they actually started collecting DNA evidence, but it was in the early stages, and I guess they just weren't constantly testing, because he became a suspect in these rapes, and he willingly gave up DNA.
Yeah, but they didn't for
fucking test it with the
26
samples.
months or something like that.
Yeah, it was like 2 years before.
It was
they
over
finally,
2 years, a little over 2 years. Yeah,
crazy, right? Like, how do you not immediately match it with you got a suspect, you got his DNA.
Yep.
I don't know, maybe it was a lot harder more expensive and time consuming in the early 90s to test this stuff. Or the late 80s, for that matter.
Right.
May 4th, 1987, the rape of a 21-year-old Scarborough woman in front of her parents' house after Bernardo followed her home was one of the known incidents. And then on May 14th, 10 days later, the rape of a 19-year-old woman in the backyard of her parents' house. And then July 17th.
One of those women, he killed their dog first. Remember that part in the story? I think it's this first one.
No, he didn't
right?
actually rape that girl. That was after he was with Karla that happened. He was still going out, like he had snuck out of the house that night to do that.
Okay. So
he
that
snapped
one's later
a poodle's neck and then attacked the girl, and then somebody's lights came on in their house and he ran off.
Yeah,
but that was way later.
Up on him
this is before he's even met Karla. Were these events?
Oh, okay.
He met her in October. This is July 17th. He attempted to rape a young woman. Although he beat the victim, he abandoned the attack when she fought back. So yeah, as we've talked about before, it's almost always the best move to fight.
Absolutely.
And not let these...
Yeah. Beat the shit out of them.
Yeah. September 29th, 1987, he attempted to rape a 15-year-old girl. He broke into the house of Scarborough and entered the victim's bedroom. He jumped on her back, put his hand over her mouth, threatened her with a knife, bruised the side of her face, and bit her ear.
Her mother got up, right? This girl's
mother
heard it.
He fled when the victim's mother entered the room and screamed. 19 years old at the time of the crime, Anthony Hannemeyer was convicted of the sexual assault in 1989 and served a 6-month prison sentence, but was exonerated after Bernardo admitted to the crime in 2006. So this poor bastard went down for this.
In 89. And then he served 6 months. So now everyone...
16 months.
16 months?
Yeah, for a rape he didn't do. And months. I'm sure was treated as a rapist in prison, which he may have been raped himself, and who knows. I mean, it makes you wonder what they had on him. Maybe he was already kind of Maybe he was raping other people and
Maybe
they
he's
just kind
a
of pinned it
scumbag.
on him too.
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't want to say for sure because we don't know this poor bastard.
No.
December 16th, 1987. So this is shortly after he had met Karla. He raped a 15-year-old girl. The next day, Metropolitan Toronto Police issued a warning to women in Scarborough traveling alone at night, especially those riding buses. Then on December 23rd, 1987, so 2 days before Christmas, the rape of a 17-year-old girl with a knife he used to threaten his victims. At this point, he began to be known as the Scarborough Rapist. And in April 18th, 1988, he attacked a 17-year-old girl. May 25th, 1988,
This is just like a freaking. He was
on a tear, dude.
Yes, so frequently.
He was on May 25th. He was nearly caught by a uniformed Metro Toronto investigator staking out a bus shelter. Although the investigator noticed Bernardo hiding under a tree and pursued him on foot, he escaped. So first close call of this.
There he
story.
is, hiding under that tree.
Right? Yeah, dude's hiding in a tree when you're staking out a rape scene. That's not a good look.
No.
May 30th, 1988, he raped an 18-year-old woman in Mississauga, Ontario, about 25 miles southwest of Scarborough. And then, dude, this is bad. Like, this is like a paste, like East Area rapist status. October 4th, 1988, he attempted to rape in Scarborough. Although his intended victim fought him off, he inflicted 2 stab wounds to her thigh and buttock, which required 12 stitches. Then in November, so this is multiple times per month, pretty much. November, he strikes twice. November 16th, he raped an 18-year-old woman in the backyard of her parents' house. November 17th, the next day, Metro Police formed a task force to capture the Scarborough rapist. December 27th, he attempted rape.
Now they've had enough.
Now, yes, yeah. You know what? This last one
what?
really got me thinking we need to do something here.
That's just one too many.
He always liked to do stuff. It seemed like he really had a lot of these were like right around Christmas. You notice that?
Yeah,
like with Karla's sister was Christmas Eve, right? Which we're getting to soon.
Yeah.
But this previous Christmas in 87, he'd raped someone. And then December 27, 2 days after Christmas in 88, he attempted rape with a neighbor who chased him off.
Well, you know what, though? He's doing most of these, it looks, in the darker months of the year. So there's more nighttime, too, which is probably
when
helpful.
The days are shorter.
Yeah. The days are much shorter, especially in Canada, I would think.
Hey.
I don't know.
June 20th, 1989, he attempted to rape. The young woman fought, and her screams alerted neighbors. Bernardo fled with scratches on his face. That might be the one with the poodle.
Okay.
I know the neighbors scared him off on that one.
Yeah.
It was said he was driving through like an apartment complex late at night, and he saw this girl walking her dog. And he hated dogs, apparently. Hated dogs. I guess he had bought Karla one because, just for companionship, but he's allergic to him, and he just hated him.
Yeah.
And, snapped this dog's neck, apparently. And then
he snuck up on it somehow. Because the book described it as like he couldn't sneak up behind her because the dog would know. So he just ran. He just ran straight at it. Yeah.
And took out the dog right away.
Yeah.
And then she
apparently
screamed and
threw it in
neighbors.
the woods.
Crazy. August 15th, 1989, the rape of a 22-year-old woman. Bernardo stalked the previous night outside of her window of her apartment and waited for her to arrive home, where he then raped her. You ever notice, like, most serial killers, there's very few serial killers that actually have dogs. I was just thinking about this. Or, like, pets in general. Seems like they're largely loners, or they'll have, like, a family maybe, like, like a BTK type, but they rarely have dogs. Like, they usually don't like little companions.
But, okay, think about how much stuff they have to organize. And then think about having to feed and take out a dog.
I know, and I think it says something about them
they don't have
from a
time
compassion
for that
standpoint.
shit.
They don't care about other living creatures enough to do it. You know what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Unless it serves some sort of purpose to them.
Which, how could it,
Like Son of Sam, for instance.
Right. But they almost never do.
No, you're right.
They almost never do.
I just can't see like Dahmer just being home enough. That dog would be so lonely.
Right.
He's just always on the go.
Yeah, and then the dog's got to watch what he's doing
to
these young men.
Oh, and the smells too.
The things
Their
that
smells
dog
are like 100 times
for the best.
ours.
The things those dogs would see.
It's true.
They don't need that.
It's
in
much
their
better.
life.
Dahmer doesn't have dogs.
Right. November 21st, 1989, he raped a 15-year-old girl that he saw in a bus shelter. December 22nd, man, I just like, this is one thing the book didn't cover is a lot of these. Like, it just kind of insinuated that he was out doing this stuff.
Right.
Didn't go into a lot of it.
No, it was more the important stuff.
I
more
didn't realize the
highlights,
extent,
but
like how much of a serial rapist he was, like how many of these he had really done. It's a lot. It's a crazy pace.
When you see it on this list,
from 87 to 89, it's just nonstop, and then even into 90. December 22nd, right around Christmas again, 1989, he raped a 19-year-old woman. May 26, 1990, he raped another 19-year-old. His victim's vivid recollection of her attacker enabled police to create a computer composite portrait, which was released 2 days later by the police and published in Toronto and area newspapers. And this thing was spot on. It looked just like him.
He mentioned that it looked like him.
Yeah, and the friends of his and like the friends of Karla immediately went to the police saying, "We think," they'd already been saying.
They were like, "Hey, this is him."
Yeah, this is how he ended up on suspect lists, because people that he knew were turning him in because they knew he was a creepy fuck and he was up to no good. And and then when that composite comes out, they're just like, "Oh, it's definitely him.
Definitely,
look at that,
no doubt."
It looks like he took a picture of him." July 1990, 2 months after police received tips that Bernardo fit the Scarborough rapist composite, he was interviewed by 2 police detectives. From May to September of 1990, police submitted more than 130 suspects samples for DNA testing. Eventually, they received 2 reports that the person they were seeking was Bernardo. The first, in June, had been filed by a bank employee. The second was from Tina Smyrni's, wife of one of the 3 Smyrni's brothers who were among Bernardo's closest friends. She told detectives that Bernardo, quote, had been called in on a previous rape investigation once in December 1987, but he had never been interviewed. So, as we said, it took a long time for them to run this DNA before he was finally connected. He frequently talked about his sex life to Smyrni's and said that he liked rough sex, anal sex, and tossing salads. Just like I didn't expect that. Did not expect that.
Your face, oh my God.
Really caught me off guard.
You like can't even finish saying you said.
I don't know if we should keep that in there.
And tossing salad.
Yeah, it's just when you're talking about people that aren't willing, tossing salads is not cool. Smyrni's phrasing, awkward and stilted, left detectives uncertain whether to take her seriously. However, after cross-checking several files, they decided to interview Bernardo. And then, so on November 20th, 1990, they did an interview that lasted 35 minutes. Bernardo voluntarily provided samples for forensic testing. When the detectives asked Bernardo why he thought he was being investigated for the rapes, he admitted that he resembled the composite, as we had mentioned. According to the detectives, he was far more credible than the Smyrni's, who had an awkward and strange way of speaking. Police thought that she might be trying to collect the reward. Bernardo was released the next day.
I wonder what they meant by that. Had an awkward, strange way of speaking. Like, what are they doing?
So you just you just forget all credibility of her because she speaks weird.
She speaks weird. I don't like her diction.
Right.
I don't like the rhythm.
I don't trust her. I don't like the way she talks.
I don't like the tone.
I don't like your tone here.
I don't know why. I guess there's a New York,
all of a sudden they're New York
detective.
Canadians.
They're in Toronto. They're not that far away.
Is that right above New York?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're not too far.
You never know with Canada. That place is huge, man. They got all these different provinces and shit. They're all different too. All I know is they all work in oil fields.
Yeah.
And all say Surrey.
They can be very.
They like hockey.
Very different. Actually.
Yeah, no doubt.
But all kind, from what we hear, except for these 2, right? A couple assholes. They took up all of Canada's assholery right here.
For real. And they got these now. So this is the point where they get the DNA from him,
right?
And then they don't test it for the next 2 years. I mean, they don't compare it to the samples that they've been taking from these rape victims.
And what happens in those 2 years, man?
Some more victims occur. Yeah. So let's talk about Tammy Homolka, which is one big part of this story that you hear. If you know this story, you know the Tammy aspect of it, which Tammy was Karla's younger sister. By 1990, Bernardo was spending long periods of time with the Homolka family, who liked him. Although he was engaged to Karla, he flirted with her younger sister Tammy all the time. Bernardo had not told them that he had lost his job as an accountant and was smuggling cigarettes across the nearby Canada-United States border. So that's how he's making his living. He's got a fancy sports car and shit.
Oh, yeah.
He's making good money
Mercury
smuggling.
Capri.
Oh, shit.
Which is like a Mustang, kind of, that time, I think. I think it's like they're...
not that fancy.
No, it is. It's like Mercury's version of the Mustang. I mean,
I want
it's
to
the
drive
same
me
company.
a Mercury and smuggle cigarettes. Yeah.
It's the same. It's the same thing. It's just an ugly Mustang.
All right. That's not that cool, man.
No, it's not. I don't think so.
But he's all vampire-y and sparkly though. So
yeah.
And he's got cartons of cigarettes if you need them.
Total little sidetrack here. You know what kind of car I saw yesterday at work? A Subaru Brat.
Oh, shit. Old school.
A Subaru Brat 4x4 with little roll cage in the back.
That's dope.
Right? You never see those.
Super cool.
Very cool. It's the car that Joy had on My Name is Earl. You remember that show?
Yeah.
Did you wreck my Brat?
Paul had become obsessed with Tammy, Karla's younger sister, looking into her window and entering her room to masturbate while she slept. Holmolka helped Bernardo by breaking the window into her sister's room, allowing him access. So
I don't understand it, man. I don't understand how
letting him essentially assault her sister and helping him do it. It only gets worse from here.
I don't understand how a woman can help another woman become a victim in that way.
And not only just any other woman, her sister.
Exactly. That's what I was about to get at. Let alone a woman that you love.
Yeah.
That you're related to.
I mean,
like,
they had
especially if you know what that experience is like. How could
Sounds like the sisters didn't have the closest relationship. They were a lot of times trying to make each other jealous. You know, Karla was the older, better, you know. In Tammy's eyes, she was like the one that always got everything. She was the good-looking older sister that got all the attention, and she would always rub it in to Tammy. But now Tammy's getting the attention from Paul, and it's driving Karla a little bit crazy.
It's weird.
But at the same time, she's also helping him fill his sexual fantasies always.
I know.
Like even with her own sister.
Yeah. She'll do whatever it takes to keep Paul happy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all the basic line of things. And the book made it sound like a lot of the motivation for her was he had money and stuff and she wanted to use him for that. Like she wanted like a ring and she wanted a fancy house and all this stuff. So I don't know what her true motivations were. What do you think her true motivations to helping with all this stuff? Do you think it was?
I think she was a little bit addicted to the excitement, probably, if I'm being honest. I think she
liked being
the
bad,
thrill.
right?
She liked the badness. She liked breaking the law. She liked she liked being
Do
powerful.
you think she would have been
people.
a lifetime criminal person if she hadn't met Paul?
No.
But she would have been a bad person
if she found someone like Paul. Yeah,
she would have been a bad person.
Think
no doubt, she would have been a thief and stuff like that. Probably. Yeah, you know what I mean. And
but
like,
she's
probably
more
would
of the behind the scenes orchestrator, and then she likes to see how it plays out. And Paul is like,
but she never would have been involved in these horrific sexual crimes and murders if she didn't meet a guy like Paul, right?
Exactly.
But she was almost probably destined to meet a guy like Pall, it seems.
But does Paul even take it this far?
Without her?
I got a theory.
Yes. I mean, he was already a serial rapist before he met her, Michael. Yeah, so I'd say so.
No, I'm talking about the murders. Paul didn't kill nobody until he met Karla. That's kind of odd.
That's true. It seems like every time there was a murder, Karla was there.
Yeah. That is
weird coincidence,
real weird.
Right? Yeah.
So just throwing that out there.
Mm-hmm. And it could have been her jealousy of this girl that he's giving more attention to.
Yeah.
If she kills her, she's not around anymore. No more jealousy.
Right. This is all just alleged.
Yeah, speculation. That's what our podcast is about, man.
That's what we do. We speculate.
In July, he took Tammy across the border to get beer for a party. Bernardo later told his fiancée that they, quote, got drunk and began making out. This made Karla very jealous, obviously. And Tammy secretly loved it, that she finally got to make her sister jealous.
Yeah, dude. I heard
Tammy was very into Paul. Let's make that clear.
That's what the book said.
Early on.
That's what the book said. Yeah. I didn't see that nowhere else.
Okay.
But the book made it seem like, both sisters were infatuated. It makes sense.
He's a much older, cool guy that's dating your older sister. It's probable. I mean, we don't know for sure, but over the summer, he supplied Tammy and her friends with gifts, food, soda, and anything they needed to party. Bernardo always openly complained that Karla was not a virgin when they met, and as an early Christmas present, Karla decided to give him her sister's virginity. Ralph.
That is just
so
disgusting,
sick, right?
On so many levels.
Right. Holmolka prepared by stealing halothane, an anesthetic from the vet clinic where she worked. Never heard of that before. That anesthetic before. Mm-hmm. It sounds like some scary shit from this story.
Yeah, I wonder what kind of animal it's used.
And then right around Christmas again, December 23rd, 1990, Holmolka and Bernardo administered sleeping pills to the 15-year-old Tammy in a rum and eggnog cocktail. When Tammy lost consciousness, so the way that the Holmolkas parented, Tammy and Karla's parents, they tend to let their daughters drink if they were within their household. They trusted Karla to look after Tammy. They let Tammy drink when she was 15, as long as it was at home and all that.
Right. They figure they're safer doing it there than
They were wrong.
being out somewhere else.
They were wrong because they
They're absolutely wrong.
misjudged their older daughter. Had no idea how dark she truly was. They also really liked Paul and bought into his fake personality when he was around them. They didn't see his dark sides. They were.
Well, I'm
maybe
sure
he was
I'm sure
good.
he sold it very,
I was going to say
very
maybe
well.
he was good at that.
Yeah, he sold it.
I'd like to think that when my daughter starts dating boys, I'm going to be able to read through their fake shit.
Oh, you think?
I'm going to be watching them like a fucking hawk.
Dude, here's how you know they're all shit.
They all want one thing, and we know it. Yep. I'm hoping to be at least like a brown belt by then in jiu-jitsu, and then
There you go.
you know, I got a lot of years before I got to worry about that shit. She's 4 months old.
Yeah, you got a while, dude. Don't stress about it.
Enjoy these years of innocence.
Yes, exactly.
Thank God. When Tammy lost consciousness, Homolka and Bernardo undressed her. Karla applied a halothane-soaked cloth to her sister's nose and mouth. Apparently way too much. Like she didn't need to do it for very long.
Yeah.
And she did it for way too long. With Tammy's parents sleeping upstairs, they videotaped themselves raping her in the basement. Tammy began to vomit and choked on the vomit. Paul and Karla tried to revive her but were not successful. So Karla held this halothane cloth over her sister's mouth for way too long.
Yeah.
Which knocked her out and then, made her sick. And yeah, they ended up fucking up and she choked to death on her own vomit. Which is common with overdosing.
Roll over on her side. Like,
right?
You don't know that kind of basic ass shit.
Reminds you of Breaking Bad, right? When he watched Jesse's girlfriend choke on her thing, he didn't do anything to stop it.
It seems very reminiscent of that, doesn't it?
Spoiler alert: the show's been over for how long now? But
dude,
God, that scene was intense.
It was so intense.
Oh my God!
Where you just get like goosebumps.
And then when he told Jesse later. Remember, he just
brought
it up. Like this is like what we talked about earlier.
When
you throw that bomb on somebody, like in the middle of an argument, that's the bomb, dude.
Yep.
Oh, I watched your girlfriend die and I didn't stop it.
Yeah.
What?
And then slam the door and walk out.
Fuck, that show's intense. I gotta watch it again.
I know.
If you haven't watched Breaking Bad, people.
Oh my God, what are you doing with your life?
What are you
Best show
doing
on TV?
Fuck Game of Thrones. No, it's still good too, but. They called 911 after hiding evidence of their involvement. So this happened in the basement, and then they drug her. They freaked out because it was dark in the basement, and they drug her to Tammy's room Karla's room rather than turning on a light. Which, so they're panicking because they didn't mean to kill her. Seems like it got out of hand. Yeah. They hid the evidence of their involvement. They dressed Tammy and moved her into Karla's bedroom. A few hours later, Tammy was pronounced dead at St. Catherine's General Hospital without ever regaining consciousness. Despite their behavior, the strange vacuuming and washing laundry in the middle of the night during all of this, and despite a chemical burn on Tammy's face, the coroner and the Homolka family accepted Bernardo and Homolka's version of events in which she drank too much, got sick, and choked on her own vomit. I guess the medical examiner kind of played off the burn on the side of the face as though it could have been from the stomach acid.
So I'm guessing.
But I mean, you do this for a living. Is that common where your stomach acid can burn your skin like that? They said, Karla and Paul said that it was from dragging her body or whatever.
Yeah, on the carpet.
Carpet.
You drug her face down.
Right.
Sons of bitches.
Dude, it just seems like some shoddy work here.
That's
some shoddy work. Like
it's some shoddy work.
And shouldn't you do like a toxicology test or whatever to see what all was in her, and you would have found the fucking poison that they did?
What was the legal drinking age? Because wouldn't the parents be held responsible if they
you would
death
think
by
child
alcohol?
Endangerment, right? Like,
let's see, what year is this?
91.
Let's see what Google says.
Look it up, and you got to think Toronto, Canada, too. What the laws were there.
What was the legal drinking age in 1991 in Toronto, Canada? You got all that, Google. 19. Oh, wait. That might have been then.
Alberta and Manitoba, the legal drinking age is 18. The drinking age in Ontario was also 18 up through 1978, but on January 1st, 1979, it was raised to 19, where it has remained ever since.
19.
So
well, we talked about the parents had allowed their younger daughter to drink in their own household, but from a law standpoint, your daughter got so fucked up that she, puked and choked on her own vomit and all that, and you guys were sleeping in your bed, sleeping in your rooms.
I see.
I mean, kids, you can't always, they could have just said, I didn't know they were drinking, and blame it more on Karla, and then, of course, the law is not going to come down on her if she just...
She was underage too.
Let her sister drink too much.
Or was she an adult this time? I don't know.
I think she was 19.
Oh, okay. So she was
old
just
enough.
old enough.
Yeah, but man, that's the medical examiner. I feel like flubbed this. The police flubbed it. Like everything was so fishy. Like if you're at that scene, it just doesn't. These things aren't right.
And everything that you find about this part of the story is so glossed over, isn't it? It's just like, oh, this happened, and they said, yep, we believe you. And then they just move on. It's like, where is the process?
That being said, I mean, the police are just, they're not in that mindset when they go to a girl who choked on her own vomit. They're assuming
Paul
that she
is already under scrutiny here, isn't he?
Yes. Did they check that, though? Did they really look into Paul's background? Did they check his
DNA is still waiting to be tested, but still, there still should be some file.
But you have to imagine it wasn't the same police, the same investigators that knew about him that showed up to this event. So they probably, if they didn't, well, let's really look into everyone here in this overdose situation. They probably just assumed this is a common thing where people get, they get intoxicated or they get pilled out or whatever, and they choke on their own vomit. It happens. That's why you always taught, when you drink way too much. Like my wife's always been this way with my friends and stuff. When we were in our early 20s and we drank all the time, she would go around and check them while they slept and make sure they were turned on their side and not sleeping on their back.
Yeah.
So that because that stuff happens.
Yeah.
It's an unfortunate thing. It's I'm sure paramedics, police, they've seen a lot of the same thing where young people choke on their own vomit from being too messed up. And so they probably just assumed this is another one, and they're not going to look. This Paul guy was just a guy that happened to be there. He's dating her sister. He has a reason to be there.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and as far as the rash goes, people's skin reacts to so many different things in so many different ways. People have different allergies.
And you're not thinking this girl was poisoned with some shit that a girl got from the fucking veterinarian office.
No, not even. But wouldn't that be found in her, though?
But here's my other question, right? This is wouldn't you think part of the autopsy, the medical examiner's job would be to examine her whole body, and he would find that she'd been raped? You know what I'm saying? That she was 15. Like, should she have just had sex that night? You would obviously be able to tell that.
Yeah.
Right?
And what about the remaining...
So then that would bring up new questions like, who did this girl have sex with tonight?
What about the remaining fluid that would be in her body from the anesthetics and stuff?
Yeah,
none of that stuff was found. They were like,
toxicology,
here's horse tranquilizer.
Toxicology. If a person overdoses, you would think that'd be one of the first things they do. What were they on?
Yes.
Test them.
Exactly.
Why does she have this chemical from a veterinarian office in her, this anesthetic?
Right.
That is not a normal drug people do.
Exactly. How did she even get it?
How did she get it?
She would have to have access. That would be such an easy investigation right there.
Yeah, it just seems like they just kind of like, well, overdose. Let's just move on with our lives here.
Yeah.
Let's just assume everything at face value. Nothing to see here. Keep moving.
Wow. It's in a big city, too. It's not like some small backwoods town where things just get glossed over.
Mm-hmm. The official cause of Tammy's death was listed as accidental choking on vomit after consumption of alcohol. Bernardo and Holmolka subsequently videotaped themselves with Karla wearing Tammy's clothing and pretending to be her. Yeah. They eventually moved out of the Holmolka house to rent to a rented bungalow to allow Holmolka's parents to grieve. I'm sure they were real concerned about that.
Yeah.
They just wanted some new layer to fucking do some more dark shit. I think this one really opened the door to just the darkest stuff. Like Karla's like, I killed my sister. What's going to stop me now?
I'm already a terrible person.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Let's
right,
just
dude.
have fun
That could have been the straw that broke the camel's back right there.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, we've talked about it a lot of times. Serial killers, the first one that just really kicks them into high gear.
Yeah. I think Paul was his mom, and then Karla's turning point was the murder. And I think maybe that's why she killed everybody. No, I'm just kidding.
She probably
allegedly.
I'm sure she did feel something as far as she probably felt bad about the way that went with her sister, and now she's like doing more heinous things just to take her mind off of it. You know what I mean? Like she needs a new thrill so that she doesn't sit around thinking about the fact that went down.
I think it's what you said the first time. I think it just broke the dam.
She enjoyed it.
And now she's like, I've already went this far.
Yeah.
Why would I have any remorse about killing anybody else? Maybe she didn't feel bad when her sister died.
Yeah.
Maybe she didn't.
Yeah, she was just relieved, not jealous anymore because she's dead now. And Paul can't obsess over her anymore.
He can't have
the
her
book
now.
made it sound like Paul never got over this shit. He was so obsessed with Tammy.
Paul had a breakdown.
Paul had a breakdown after this.
Yes.
He did. There was a whole chapter. Paul
so
loses
much
it was a chapter in this book.
Like so much so that Karla thought he was trying to make a plea for insanity.
Yeah, he was trying to build a defense for their later capture.
Exactly.
Because he knew that they had his DNA on file.
Yep.
And he knew he was going to get caught. So she thought the way he was reacting to Tammy's death was so over the top. Like he would be hanging out with friends and start punching himself in the face and crying. And The book made it sound like he was so infatuated with Tammy, even more after she died, which we've talked about before.
Yeah.
When people die, they become more loved and all that.
That's right.
But the girls that he would kidnap and rape and stuff after this, the book insinuated that he was always pretending they were Tammy. He would put their clothes on them, or Tammy's clothes on them, and
like
think
we
about
mentioned
Tammy.
earlier,
He would even look at
Karla
pictures
did
of
that.
Tammy while he was doing these acts. Yeah. He would make Karla wear Tammy's like underwear and stuff.
Didn't he
this.
make her wear like a Tammy mask or like a picture of Tammy?
Oh God.
The book mentioned that he made her wear some sort of cover of her face. It was like a printed out picture of Tammy or something.
Why would you be in this relationship if you're Karla?
That's
at this
what I'm
point?
saying. Like, how demeaning.
Right? Shortly after Tammy Homolka's funeral, her parents left town, and Karla's remaining sister, Lori, visited her grandparents in Mississauga. I don't know. I'm going to butcher this if you're Canadian. I'm sorry. Mississauga. Leaving the house empty. During the weekend of January 12, 1991, Bernardo abducted a girl, took her to the house, raped her while Homolka watched, and dropped her off on a deserted road near Lake Gibson. Bernardo and Homolka called her January Girl because they never even learned her name.
Wow.
At about 5:30 a.m. on April 6, 1991, Bernardo abducted a 14-year-old girl. She was warming up to be on a local rowing team. The girl was distracted by a blonde woman who waved at her from her car, enabling Bernardo to drag her into the shrubbery near the rowing club. He sexually assaulted her and forced her to remove her clothes and wait 5 minutes, during which he disappeared. And so are they saying that Karla had helped him on this one? She was the girl that waved her down or whatever?
Yeah, she would be the blonde girl that waved her over. This is her,
now actively participating in
first
him raping, abducting and raping these
yeah.
girls. Derek Finkel's 1997 book, No Claim to Mercy, presented evidence tying Bernardo to the murder of Elizabeth Bain, who disappeared on June 19, 1990, 3 weeks after the last known attack of the Scarborough rapist. Bain told her mother that she was going to check the tennis schedule at the University of Toronto, Scarborough. 3 days later, her car was found with a large blood stain in the back seat. So, I mean, he's also, like, of the ones we know, the murders that him and Karla were involved in, or him alone, there's way more that there could be him. You know, there's also video that was presented in court later that there was video of unconscious girls on these tapes that they basically ruled out the victims that they knew. They either didn't match.
Right.
Something didn't match, so those could have also been girls that ended
There's
up
no
dying.
telling how many victims they had.
No.
And then, like, as far as the bloodstains and stuff, like, there even on the rape attacks, he stabbed people a lot. Paul did.
Yeah, we
Remember
talked earlier about he stabbed one in the stomach and leg or something.
So, you know, he didn't technically kill anyone by himself, but he was
could've.
still slinging
No, he
knives. He
could've.
could have
We just
easily
don't-
killed somebody.
He could have. We just don't, have anything directly tying him to him.
Exactly.
When Karla worked at a pet shop several years earlier, she had befriended a fellow coworker, a 15-year-old girl who would be later known as Jane Doe. On June 7th, 1991, Homolka invited the girl known as Jane Doe during their eventual trials for a girls' night out. After an evening of shopping and dining, Homolka plied Jane Doe with an alcohol-laced halcyon drink. When the girl lost consciousness, Homolka called Bernardo to tell him that his surprise wedding gift was ready. They are just unbelievable. These are the gifts for each other, like a young girl. They then proceeded to videotape and rape the girl, both of them. The next morning, Jane Doe was nauseated. She thought that her vomiting was from drinking alcohol for the first time and did not realize that she had been sexually assaulted. Jane Doe was invited back to their house in August and spent the night in a replay of what happened to Karla's sister. Tammy Homolka stopped Jane Doe, whose identity was protected by law because she was a minor at the time, ended up stopping breathing after she was drugged, and Bernardo began to rape her. Homolka called 911 for help, but called back a few minutes later to say that everything was all right. The ambulance was recalled without a follow-up. Jane Doe ended up surviving, but I'm sure it stopped hanging out at their house.
Yeah, there was an incident where she thought she was dead, and they didn't want to be with it. They didn't want this to happen again, and then she woke up while she was on the phone with the operator. I don't think
this girl wanted to come back, hang out there anymore, because the first time she woke up sick as hell, thought it was from drinking. The second time, she almost died. So so bad things are happening whenever I hang out at the Homolka's place.
Exactly.
Early in the morning of June 15th, 1991, Bernardo detoured through Burlington, halfway between Toronto and St. Catharines. to steal license plates and met Leslie Mahaffey. The 14-year-old had missed her curfew after attending a friend's wake and was locked out of her house. This is a girl who was known to kind of like bounce around. Her parents, she'd be gone for a day, but she'd always come back.
Mm-hmm.
And this night in particular, sometimes her mom would lock her out if she got back too late. This is one of those nights.
Right.
And so she got in the car with this guy who happened to be Paul.
This is where tough
Bernardo.
parenting doesn't
God,
really
can you
work
imagine
out, right?
being that mom, like, you locked her out.
Oh.
She came home and she was locked out, and then this happens. That's got to be
It's just not worth it to prove a point.
right. Bernardo left his car and approached Mahaffey, saying that he wanted to break into a neighbor's house. Unfazed, she asked if he had any cigarettes. When Bernardo led her to his car, he blindfolded her, forced her into the car, and drove her to the house and informed Holmolka that they had a victim. Bernardo and Holmolka videotaped themselves torturing and sexually abusing Mahaffey while they listened to Bob Marley and David Bowie. You can't disgrace Marley and Bowie with this shit.
You know what? This may be the worst thing I've ever heard about them.
Right? I mean,
these are some real bastards.
I feel like Rammstein or something like that, maybe. But how are you gonna listen to Bob Marley? Don't worry, while you're doing this shit. It's the biggest contradiction of all time.
That's how. But that explains a lot about their psyche, doesn't it? That's the mode they were in.
Yeah,
because
their calming world is
right. It's not that Bob Marley sounds intense or evil to them. It's just. That's how they feel. They're in that mode.
This is their happy place. Is doing
they have
horrific
to be, right?
things to
listen to this and go along.
Yeah, you got to be really sick, man. At one point, Bernardo said, quote, "You're doing a good job, Leslie, a damn good job," adding, "The next 2 hours are going to determine what I do to you. Right now, you're scoring perfect." In another segment of tape played at Bernardo's trial, the assault escalated. Mahaffey cried out in pain and begged Bernardo to stop. In the prosecution's description of the scene, he was sodomizing her with her hands while her hands were bound with twine. So sick detail, but it gives you insight into how horrific these people were, man. It's just,
dude, the juries had to watch this stuff.
They had to watch these tapes,
and then the whole courtroom could hear the audio.
Yeah, that's
imagine
just, being
in there, dude.
It's almost unfair to do to someone. Like they're never.
It really is.
They're not. I mean, they need to see it, I suppose, so that they can understand and do and make a fair decision on these people's fate.
Go back to your normal life.
But yeah, man.
After watching that tape, just go back like nothing happened.
I mean, I guess they weed out the jury members who say that they'll be affected by it, and the ones who stick by say that they can handle it. So that's all you can really do, because you do need to know all the facts of a case before you can make a decision on someone's fate.
Yeah.
So I understand why they do it. You have to do it, but man, it's unfortunate for those jury members that maybe they said, "Yeah, I'll be fine," and they didn't really understand the extent of this shit, man. This is as dark as humanity gets right here.
It really is.
It's an innocent young girl, and they're doing this stuff to her, and videotaping and having fun with it. It's just,
it's unfathomable.
Let's just say Karla did not get enough time by any means.
Dude.
No. Mahaffey later told Bernardo that her blindfold seemed to be slipping, which signaled the possibility that she could identify her attackers if she lived. The following day, Bernardo claims Holmolka fed her a lethal dose of Halcyon. Holmolka claims that Bernardo strangled her. Yeah, they never really either of them took credit for the murders. They blamed it on the other one, always.
That's just part of it. I definitely am going to go with Holmolka gave her a lethal dose of Halcyon. How much easier would that be? Mm-hmm. She's already incapacitated.
Yeah.
Why is he going to go through the trouble of strangling her?
And he had all these he did all these rapes, and he never strangled
anybody.
Yeah. Which it seems like that would have been
an MO. The body, is this the one that they dismembered her?
Yeah, either way, Leslie Mahaffey was dead. They put Mahaffey's body in their basement, and the day after that, Holmolka family had a dinner at the house. Yeah. After the Holmolka family left, Bernardo and Karla decided the best way to dispose of the evidence would be to dismember Mahaffey and encase each part of her remains in cement. So they made these cement blocks, very strange, with body parts in each one, and they painted them black for some reason. I guess they thought they'd look more natural or something.
I have no idea.
They were planning on throwing them into water.
Right.
Bernardo brought a dozen bags of cement at a hardware store the following day, keeping the receipts, which were eventually damaging at his trial. Yeah. He then used his grandfather's circular saw to dismember Mahaffey. They made a number of trips to the dump, the cement blocks in Lake Gibson, 11 miles south of where they lived. So they went to dump these blocks in the lake.
Right.
At least one of the blocks weighed 200 pounds and was beyond their ability to sink. It ended up being left near the shore, where it was found by guy named Michael Doucette and his son while on a fishing expedition. Mahaffey's orthodontic appliance was found. An instrument from her work was found near this block or whatever. Or maybe it was inside the concrete block, and it helped in identifying her later.
It probably fell in there.
But yeah, the people
Dried in
that
the
found
concrete.
these blocks said that these people must not be locals because just like 100 yards down from where they did it, they could have just thrown them right in the water, but they carried them out to the shore, these 200-pound blocks. Yeah, so.
It's funny, but they weren't
the brightest, dude. Let's just make that clear.
right.
Neither of these are very smart. Neither
And just to
Paul
clear,
nor Karla were very smart.
right, just to clear up all suspicion, they were locals. They only lived 11 miles from here.
Right.
They kind of should have known.
Yeah. On the afternoon of April 16th, 1992, which was also the Thursday before Easter, Bernardo and Holmolka drove through St. Catharines to look for potential victims. Although students were still heading home, the streets were generally empty. As they passed Holy Cross Secondary School, a Catholic school in the city's north end, they spotted 15-year-old Kristen French walking briskly to her nearby home. They pulled into the parking lot of the nearby Grace Lutheran Church, and Holmolka got out of the car, map in hand, pretending to need assistance. When French looked at the map, Bernardo attacked from behind, brandishing a knife and forcing her into the front seat of the car. From the back seat, Holmolka controlled the girl by pulling her hair. Kristen French took the same route home from school every day, taking about 15 minutes to get home and care for her dog. Not long after she would have arrived that day, her parents became convinced that something bad had happened. She was always home when they got there. She came straight home from school. They were very diligent parents that knew they had a young girl that they had to watch after. And they immediately reported to police that something was wrong. Right after her abduction.
They knew.
Yeah. Within 24 hours, the Niagara Regional Police Service assembled a team, searched French's usual route, and found several witnesses who had seen the abduction fairly clearly from several different locations. French's shoe recovered from the parking lot underscored the seriousness of the abduction. Over the Easter weekend, Bernardo and Holmolka videotaped themselves torturing and raping French, forcing her to drink large amounts of alcohol and submit to Bernardo. At his trial, prosecutor Ray Houlihan said that Bernardo always intended to kill her because she was never blindfolded and could have identified her captors if she got released. The following day, Bernardo and Holmolka murdered French before going to the Homolkas for Easter dinner. The books described that scene where Karla was basically getting her hair done, like doing her hair in the bathroom while Paul killed this girl, and then getting ready for dinner with her parents. Super dark scene.
And they just hide the body and head on over there.
Yeah. Holmolka testified at her trial that Bernardo strangled French for seven minutes while she watched and did her hair. Bernardo said that Holmolka beat French with a rubber mallet because she tried to escape. French was strangled with a noose around her neck, which was secured to a piece of furniture. Her nude body would be found April 30th, 1992 in a ditch in Burlington, about 45 minutes from St. Catharines and a short distance from the cemetery where Mahaffey was buried. Mahaffey. She had been washed and her hair was cut off, although it was thought that French's hair was removed as a trophy. Holmolka testified that it was to impede identification.
That doesn't make any sense. That wouldn't impede identification in any way, shape, or form.
No.
It's definitely a trophy.
Yeah. Let's talk about some more victims. Robert Baltovich, who has consistently maintained his innocence, was convicted of second-degree murder in the death of his girlfriend on March 31st, 1992. At trial, his lawyer suggested that the then unidentified Scarborough rapist was responsible for the crime. Baltovich served 8 years and a life sentence before he was released pending appeal. In September 2004, his appeal was processed with his lawyers alleging that he had been wrongfully convicted and Bernardo was guilty of the murder. The Court of Appeal for Ontario set aside Baltovich's conviction on December 2nd, 2004, but on July 15, 2005, the Attorney General of Ontario announced that he would face a new trial. And in 2008, after a series of pretrial motions, prosecutor Philip Cotan told the court that he would call no evidence and asked the jury to find Baltovich not guilty of second-degree murder. That this guy was basically drug into all this shit.
He's finally cleared.
Yeah. It took how long? Up until 2008?
Was it?
God.
Yeah. Serious? Yeah.
Crazy.
2008, and he was in, 89? Right? Wasn't that dude? Was that the dude that was
1992?
Oh,
he was convicted of second-degree murder of the death of his girlfriend.
Oh my God!
Exonerated in 2008 finally. On March 29th, 1992, Bernardo stalked and videotaped two sisters from his car and followed them to his parents' house. to their parents' house. The sisters saw him, but unfortunately they incorrectly recorded his license plate number.
Maybe not. Remember, he's always still in plates.
Oh, yeah, he still plates, yeah.
He could have just put a different tag on there.
Very true. One sister reported the incident to the NRP on March 31st, 1992, and received an incident number to report further information. With French under Homolka's guard on April 18th, 1992, Bernardo went out to buy dinner and rent a movie. He was spotted by one of the sisters who attempted to track him to his house. Although she lost him, she got a better description of his license plate and car and reported them to police. Her information was mishandled by police, and the lead was never pursued. Meanwhile, they had this young girl in their captivity being beaten and raped. You know, and it just seems trivial at the time, like this, oh, there's this license plate and all this stuff, but that's why it's so important. Police always take every lead seriously, you know?
Yeah.
You just never know.
But, dude, they get so many
I know,
ends,
dude.
know?
It's gotta, I can't say that I know what it's like, man.
No.
I can't. But we see this so much where it's frustrating.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you could have had him right here.
But we only see the highlights.
I know.
We only see those highlights.
I know. It's
or lowlights, rather.
It's one of those things, it's like being a kicker in football where it's like you're only basically get you get all the blame if you miss,
and you get none of the credit if you make it. You're just expected to make it.
You're expected to make it.
You're expected to make it.
Miss, you're an asshole.
Exactly.
So.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But to be fair, they're not getting.
Or an offensive lineman might be a better description.
They're not getting their brains.
I guess kickers get some credit when they make a kick. They get credit. I'll say that. So maybe it's like being an offensive lineman, where it's like, you should never hear their name. It's basically when they give up a sack, they're an asshole, but they're expected to always protect the quarterback.
Yeah, they're even worse. That's true. They do have the worst job in football.
Right.
No credit, but they're like the most important.
Yeah. In 2006, Bernardo confessed to at least 10 more sexual assaults dating back to March 1986, including the 1987 assault of a 15-year-old girl. Another man, Anthony Hannemeyer, had been convicted of the assault and served a full sentence on it. On July 25th, 2008, the Court of Appeal for Ontario overturned the conviction and exonerated Hannemeyer. My God, so many dudes spent so many years in prison for this fucker.
Yep. I think, three?
Three different dudes spent a lot of years.
Yeah.
Not going to add them up, but it's tens of years. Tens of years.
But you think about it, man, with that rap sheet like he had, there may be some we don't even know about.
Right.
There may be cases he was tied to with all those rapes he was doing before he even met Karla. There's no telling.
So let's dive into the investigation of these two. Homolka and Bernardo were questioned by police several times in connection with the Scarborough rapist investigation, Tammy Homolka's death, and Bernardo's stalking of other women before the death of French. A police officer filed a report on May 12th, 1992. A police sergeant and constable briefly interviewed Bernardo. The officers decided that he was unlikely their suspect, although Bernardo admitted that he had been questioned in connection with the Scarborough rapes. You know, when a guy's name keeps popping up,
right?
It's like, I've been questioned a couple of years ago for this.
Yeah.
You know, and then it's like you come up in a totally different, investigation.
I'm sure he made it
at a certain point, the common denominator, you got to look a little harder at him. It's like this guy keeps popping up in all these investigations. He's doing something. He's up to no good.
He's doing something.
You don't just randomly end up in all of these.
Listen, if you run with the dogs, you get the fleas.
Yeah,
this motherfucker got fleas.
Yes.
Just need to figure out where he's getting them from.
In them.
Yeah.
3 days later, the Green Ribbon Task Force was created to investigate the murders of Mahaffey and French. Bernardo and Homolka had applied to have their last names legally changed to Teal, which Bernardo had taken from the serial killer in the 1988 film Criminal Law. Never heard of that, but yeah, they also were known to. They were like a lot of you listeners. They were kind of obsessed with
true crime.
True crime, yeah.
Yeah, they were. They were really trying to. They really had taken to this lifestyle, didn't
but
they?
They were
when
on
they
the
dove
end,
in. They dove in.
But they were on the end that we're against, in that you idolize these criminals, and I think they were more that type of true crime fan.
Right. You don't. They're not. True crime books are not self-improvement books.
Right.
You know, they're not like self-help. They're not interchangeable. You should just you should read them on what not to do. Maybe.
Yeah.
Like don't be a killer.
Yeah, and to be aware of the evil that's out there. That's one of the biggest things.
To be aware. That's the main reason.
One of the reasons I like true crime so much is I want to know the reality of human beings and the darkest sides of them. I would rather know than not know. That way I can.
So you can
it's
be
a
prepared,
safety thing.
So you can be prepared.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
It might be a large reason why so many women are into it. You know.
Absolutely, it gives you a leg up, man.
It does.
It does.
'Cause there's a lot of fucking creeps out there.
Yeah, there is.
At the end of May, John Motile reported Bernardo as a possible murder suspect. He was an acquaintance of the Smarinis and Bernardo. On December 1992, the Center of Forensic Sciences finally began testing DNA samples provided by Bernardo 2 years earlier.
Right on time. Hey, right on time.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he kept doing
Good hustle, fellas.
bad things to people during those 2 years or anything.
Right.
So I'm sure he just stopped to wait for your DNA testing. On December 27th, right around Christmas again, Bernardo severely beat Holmolka with a flashlight, claiming that she had been in an automobile accident. Severely bruised Holmolka returned to work on January 4th, 1993 with that story of the car accident.
This was definitely a mag light, right? This was not
one of them big police.
Because they said that she was hit so hard in the back of the head that the blood vessels in the front of her head.
No, they said the brain actually hit the front of her skull.
Okay, the brain hit the front of her skull, and then it like caused a bunch of bruising underneath around her eyes, right?
Well, yeah, your brain isn't like touching your skull, from my understanding. It's got
not
a bunch,
supposed to be.
It's got a bunch of the cable like receptor things holding it there, right? And so those were probably damaged from that. Karla's, I sound like such a biologist, scientist, right?
Oh yeah,
sounds
so
smart.
technical.
You know those cables in there that hold your brain?
You know them cables there? You got to tighten them straps
like
up a little bit, man. You gotta
it's suspended in there. It's like on a bungee cord.
Some of them little suspensions only take so much, man. You start rocking the boat, shit's going to fall out.
You done blow a shock over there, buddy.
Right.
You're blowing a brain shock.
I get them rebuilt.
You need to get new struts, buddy.
Get you some alpha brain, rebuild them shocks.
It's like you got a bunch of mechanics in there when you take that alpha brain, building some new struts for you.
In there. Replacing the cylinders, filling them back with some nitrogen.
I can feel them working in there.
I can. Brain feeling tighter already.
Yeah, man. Karla's skeptical coworkers called her parents, and although they rescued her the following day by physically removing her from the house, Holmolka went back in, frantically searching for something.
Oh, I wonder what it was. Probably the tapes.
Them fucking, death sex tapes. The
off the things.
You're
You're
looking for your snuff films there?
Yeah, it's exactly what they're looking at. But they weren't there. Dun, dun, dun.
Right. Paul already had them.
Paul.
Always thinking ahead, that bastard. Paul. Her parents took her to St. Catherine's General Hospital, where she gave a statement to the police that she was a battered spouse and filed charges against Bernardo.
Best defense you got.
Yeah, so this is...
and the way she looks right now, that's a pretty damn good defense.
So I think the book, generally, like their outlook on her... A lot of other sources you said were kind of neutral on her. The book, I think, took a better road, and that she was evil as fuck too, just like Paul, dude. She was obviously in all this. She could have gotten out time and time again and turned him in. She never did.
The stuff was not only neutral; it was almost empathetic.
It was almost driven by her as well. A lot of times,
it's very empathetic towards her, and I think that has a lot to do with the fact that she is free. She's out in the world.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Well, she played the victim in all this.
Exactly. And I'm talking about
like she was just another victim of Paul, but
right. And she's been exonerated. And there's a lot of people out there that believe she did the time that she deserved for her crimes.
Come on. She's the one who got the chemicals from the veterinarian office.
Dude,
she's the one who
she may have not
held
killed
that rag
them all.
over her sister's mouth.
She may have not killed them all, but she killed some.
She's the one that waved down these young girls in the road and let their guard down so that Paul could abduct them. She may or may not have killed some of these girls herself out of jealousy or just impatience.
Well, dude, you know how Kristen French's hair was removed?
Yeah.
Paul really fell in love with her too. They don't know really how long she stayed with them. Mm-hmm. They say that it could have been up to like weeks.
She was sleeping in their bed.
Yes. Yeah. Like she did everything they said. Uh-huh. She like almost embraced it because she thought she was going to give her a better
chance of survival.
Exactly.
Which it was.
And I think Paul kind of fell in love with her. Yeah. That's why I think
if Karla saw the whole thing with Tammy again, he saw this is a whole new Tammy again.
Yes, and she's like, I've already killed two, or we've already killed two. However they happened. Yeah. I really do. I don't think he wanted Kristen dead. I think he almost.
Let's make it clear: we're not blaming Karla any more than we're blaming Paul. They're both evil monsters, in my opinion. I just think if there's Karla maybe got off easy in this whole thing. Is what I'm saying. Whereas Paul at least got punished.
Yes.
Bernardo was then arrested but later released on his own recognizance. Bernardo became even more irrational and decided to take his own life. Fortunately, or not depending on your viewpoint, a friend who found Bernardo's suicide note intervened and Holmolka moved in with relatives. 26 months after Bernardo submitted a DNA sample, Toronto police were informed that it matched that of the Scarborough rapist and immediately placed him under 24-hour surveillance. How did they not just arrest him? 20. Oh, let's just keep an eye on this guy. He's definitely he's the Scarborough rapist, according to DNA.
Dude, every time
let's just keep an eye on him.
Yeah.
What?
Just keep it.
Canada, what are you doing?
Maybe they're trying to catch him in an act.
We would have busted his head open. Our police were like,
we got him. We would have busted that damn door down with that iron log thing.
He would have got a flashlight to the head.
Oh, yeah. A couple of mag lights.
Yeah, he'd have lost some struts that day.
For sure.
Metro Toronto Sexual Assault Squad investigators interviewed Holmolka on February 9th, 1993. Despite hearing their suspicions about Bernardo, Holmolka focused on his abuse of her. Later that night, she told her aunt and uncle that Bernardo was the Scarborough rapist, that she and Bernardo were involved in the rape and murder of Mahaffey and French, and that the rapes were recorded on videotape. The police reopened its investigation of Tammy Holmolka's death. 2 days later, Karla met with Niagara Falls lawyer George Walker and sought legal immunity from the prosecution in exchange for her cooperation.
That was smart. It was whoever was going to be first to do it.
Yeah, you're beating him to the punch.
Yep.
She was also put. That it just shouldn't be that easy, though. You know, if two people are doing evil, heinous acts upon others together, you shouldn't just let one off because they ratted the other one out.
Especially if there's videotapes.
Yeah, especially when you have DNA evidence to catch the guy.
And you already know there's videotapes. That is the biggest thing. It's like, if you already know there's videotapes, be like, no, fuck you. We're going to watch the tapes.
Yeah.
You're going to sit your ass in jail. Yeah. And then we'll sort this out later.
Yeah. Because the
videotapes are everything.
Were very damning upon her.
They were everything.
There is no defense for her behaviors in these tapes.
Yeah.
Period. And not that we've watched them. I would never want to watch them. But for everything I've heard about them is
the only thing that saved her was the fact that this deal was already set in stone before those tapes were shown in court.
And the fact that basically the clause, they signed this thing saying that no media would be able to report anything about what goes on in trial.
Exactly.
In Canada.
Yep.
And in the United States, there wasn't that pact.
So
but Canada,
we're like, y'all got to check this shit out going on in Canada.
Yeah. So in the U.S., we were like fucking reporting on it.
Yeah.
And Canadians were trying to get their hands.
They're driving down to Buffalo, getting newspapers and shit.
But Canada actually made a new law saying that they could only allow one newspaper at a time from America in.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. You can only have one for you.
Yeah.
And that's
for
it.
you. So the word wasn't really all out in Toronto.
What if you could just get up a whole bunch of friends and just ride down there in like a van and just
each get one. I got mine. It's like a
15
limit.
passenger.
Yeah, one per car, sir.
Right. Oh no.
I guess you could just bring it over and then print a bunch of copies, right? There was printers and scanners, right?
Yeah. All you want's that story.
Yeah.
Just take that story out and you can make copies.
The couple's name change was finally approved on February 13, 1993. The next day, Karla's attorney, George Walker, met with the criminal law office director, Murray Siegel. After Walker told Siegel about the existence of the tapes and of the rapes, Siegel advised him that due to Holmolka's involvement in the crimes, full immunity was not a possibility. Thank God. On February 17th, Metro Sexual Assault Squad and Green Ribbon Task Force detectives arrested Bernardo on several charges and obtained a search warrant. Because the link to the murders was weak and to that point only supported by Holmolka's confession, the warrant was limited. No evidence which was not expected and documented in the warrant should be removed from the premises, and all videotapes found by police had to be viewed in the house. Damage had been kept to a minimum. Police could not tear down walls looking for videotapes. The search of the house, including updated warrants, lasted 71 days, and the only tape found by police had a brief segment of Holmolka performing oral sex on a Jane Doe. Oof.
They taped over that shit. They just didn't get that little piece.
Oof. You think?
Yep. I think they probably taped over him. And they that was an accident. That was left.
You think once all the police pressure comes down, he's, as much as I'm sure he covets these tapes and cherishes them, being the creep that he is, I'm sure he's like, these are the one thing that can really take me down, or these fucking tapes. I've got to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Who knows where he put them? I mean, I don't think he destroyed them, but he hid them somewhere.
You think
where the
you
police
don't think
would
he
never
destroyed
find
them? I think he destroyed
I don't
them.
think he could do it. It's like, you know, serial killers with their keepsakes, dude. That's what always ends up what's being their undoing a lot of times is their own confidence. They get too successful, and then they hold on to shit's keepsakes from victims, and they can't let it go.
Yeah, you're right. Like
Another
Gacy
creepy
with
thing,
all those driver's license and shit.
Another creepy thing we forgot to mention about Tammy's death.
One more
Karla's sister. Remember where they at the funeral they buried, like they put in her casket like an
invitation to their wedding.
Invitation to their wedding and a necklace that they were wearing during the assault.
Yeah,
and
I think creepy. Paul like kissed her on the lips in the casket. least
Guys,
that's what
why
the
did you
book
want this
mentioned.
case? No, I'm just kidding.
This case is
You
freaking
sick
weird.
bastards. On May 5th, Walker was informed that the government was offering Holmolka a plea bargain of 12 years, which she had 1 week to accept. If she declined, the government would charge her with 2 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of second-degree murder, and other crimes. Walker accepted the offer, and Holmolka later agreed to it. On May 14th, Homolka's plea bargain was finalized, and she began giving statements to police investigators. She told police that Bernardo boasted that he had raped as many as 30 women, twice as many as which police suspected, calling him, quote, the happy rapist.
Why would you call him that?
There. I don't know.
What's the play here? I don't even know what angle he's trying to take.
I don't know, man. It's not the best name I've heard.
It may be the worst.
Yeah.
In fact.
On May 18th, 1993, Holmolka was arraigned on 2 counts of manslaughter. Bernardo was charged with 2 counts each of kidnapping, unlawful confinement, aggravated sexual assault, and first-degree murder, as well as 1 of dismemberment. That's an actual law, huh? Is that an American law or just Canadian? I've never heard of a dismemberment law.
Me either. It should be, right?
I guess. I mean, to me, we've
really,
talked about this.
if you kill him, you kill him.
Yeah, to me, we've talked about
this. If you took someone's life, that should be just as bad, regardless of what you do.
Yeah, what you do afterwards. It's more, when people do that, it's more of a means of trying not to get caught.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's a crime itself.
I would say it's definitely more towards you planned it out if you do it, which would make you even
premeditated.
You know what I mean? It would be much easier to prove.
Right.
If we find the body
law
dismembered.
in itself for the actual act of dismembering is kind of strange to me.
That is.
Coincidentally, I think at that point you're already fucked anyway, because if you've dismembered, you already murdered. So it's like, why
like,
even tack it on?
Why even tack
it on? You're going away. Maybe they're just
you just wanted it in the notes,
stacking their odds to add more years. Maybe I don't know.
I guess it does sound really monstrous, like.
Yeah,
on your public record. If you see dismemberment, oh my God.
Yeah, I was going along your resume and everything seemed good, and then I ran into that dismemberment thing. That kind of really... I don't know if you're Walmart material.
They're they're a little tricky.
Right. Yeah. Or if they're applying to be
you see, we
a butcher.
We assign everyone their own box cutter.
That might be a good thing on your resume, though, if you're applying to be in the meat factory or something like that.
If you're applying to be a butcher? You're like, oh, we see you have dismemberment here.
Right.
Very good.
That is a great
Very well.
Yeah.
How many pieces of what kind of meat was it?
That's I don't even know how to respond to that.
Moving on.
Yeah. So yeah, these are the laws that went on. When they threw on him. Coincidentally, that same day, Bernardo's first lawyer, Ken Murray, watched the rape videotapes for the first time. Murray decided to hold on to the tapes and use them to impeach Holmolka on the stand during Bernardo's trial. So yeah, they're like, okay, we've got some material to get Holmolka now during trial. We can hit her with these tapes.
Yeah.
Neither Murray nor Caroline McDonald, the other lawyer on the defense team, were very experienced in criminal law. Only over time did their ethical dilemma concerning tapes become apparent when they were actively withholding evidence from the police and prosecution. By October 1993, Murray and his law partners had studied over 4,000 documents from the prosecution. Murray said he was willing to hand over the tapes if they had let him cross-examine Holmolka in the anticipated preliminary hearing. The hearing, unfortunately, was never held. That's just thinking of being a defense attorney. I know they're important and all that stuff, and you want to believe the best in your client, but when you see these tapes and you see what kind of monster you're working for, because really you're working for the criminal that you're representing or whatever.
Yeah.
God, that's got to make your job hard to really do it properly when you see this Karla.
Yeah,
you see the videotapes of Karla playing a part in these torture and rape of these girls.
Let's say you get everyone off that you represent.
Mm-hmm.
What's the percentage of good you've done now? Like
right.
how many of those were really innocent people, and without you they would have went to prison for something they didn't do? How many?
But it's an integral part of our law system, and
no, for sure.
Yeah.
It has to happen. If I get wrongly accused, I want fucking Saul Goodman on my side or somebody, you know what I mean?
Right. Regarding the tapes, Murray said that they showed Holmolka sexually assaulting 4 female victims, having sex with a female prostitute in Atlantic City, and at another point, drugging an unconscious victim. Doesn't look good.
No.
In February 1994, Holmolka divorced Bernardo. Aw. The love affair ends, finally.
Aww.
During the summer of 1994, Murray finally became concerned about the serious ethical problems that had arisen in connection with the tapes and his continued representation of Bernardo. He consulted his own lawyer, Austin Cooper, who asked the Law Society of Upper Canada's Professional Conduct Committee for advice. Quote, the Law Society directed Murray in writing to steal the tapes in a package and turn them over to the judge presiding at Bernardo's trial. The Law Society further directed him to remove himself as Bernardo's counsel and to tell Bernardo what he had been instructed to do. Murray noted all of this in a statement released through Cooper in September of 1995. And so he was obviously conflicted, as we had brought up, how hard this must have been.
Yeah.
And the fact that he had
held
these
on to
tapes.
those tapes for
he
a
had
while.
these tapes and he couldn't use them against Bernardo.
Yeah. He
You know
held
what I'm
on to
saying?
them for 15 months.
Yeah.
Even after he stopped representing him, he still held on to him for a while. He was conflicted, I guess, because of I guess obviously he made a promise and he obviously wasn't legally under any obligation to keep the tapes anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it must have just been his own conscience.
Yeah.
But you think he glanced at it and was like, I got to turn this motherfucker in.
Right.
How do you not watch? How do you not see what's on the tapes?
Right.
As his defense attorney, he watched those tapes, dude.
On September 12th, 1994, Cooper attended Bernardo's trial and informed the judge, Bernardo's replacement lawyer, John Rosen, and the prosecutors about what the Law Society had directed Murray to do. Rosen argued that the tapes should have been turned over to the defense first. Murray handed the tapes along with the detailed summary to Rosen, who kept the tapes for about 2 weeks and then decided to turn them over to the prosecution. The revelation that a key piece of evidence had been kept from the police for so long created a furor, especially when the public realized that Holmolka had been Bernardo's willing accomplice. Yep. The tapes were not allowed to be shown to the spectators, only the audio portion was available to them. Moreover, Bernardo claimed that while he raped and tortured Leslie Mahaffey and Kristen French, Holmolka actually killed them. After the videotapes had been found, rumors spread that Holmolka was an active participant of the crimes. The public grew incensed, and the full extent of Homolka's role in the case was finally exposed, and the plea agreement now seemed not only unnecessary but unjust. However, as was provided in the plea bargain, Holmolka had already disclosed sufficient information to the police, and the prosecution found no grounds to break the agreement and reopen the case. So she
already delivered.
It just right.
She already paid up.
Yeah, she played it just right, man. It just
good timing.
Super unfortunate that she gets to then walk around in public very shortly after all this.
Damn, her good defense attorney, huh?
Right. Bernardo's trial and sentencing. He was tried for the murders of French and Mahaffey in 1995, and his trial included detailed testimony from Holmolka and audio from the videotapes. So he's getting screwed over by these tapes, as he should.
Yeah.
Not screwed over, but I mean the truth is getting out there. They're only really being
exposed.
Used. They're only being used against him.
Yeah.
Because she got this plea bargain before really people got to see what a monster she was.
Yeah.
Bernardo testified that the deaths were accidental, later claiming that his wife was the actual killer. On September 1st, 1990, doesn't matter. You guys were both there. You both abducted these girls.
That's
you both
right.
tortured and
you had complete disregard for
you
their
watch
well-being.
First 48 where you
Both
see
of
if you were just happened to be in the car and your buddy shot some dude driving down the road. On that show, they all go down for murder, man. They were all there. There's no video showing who the shooter actually was.
And nobody rats on anybody, so y'all go down.
Yep. On September 1st, 1995, Bernardo was convicted of several offenses, including 2 first-degree murders and 2 aggravated assaults. He was sentenced to life in prison for a minimum of 25 years. He was designated a dangerous offender, making him unlikely to ever be released. Although Bernardo was kept in a segregation unit at Kingston Penitentiary for his own safety, he was attacked and harassed. He was punched in the face by another inmate when he returned from a shower in 1996.
Oh, big fucking deal.
Oh, he was punched
in the face.
I hope the guy hit like Mike Tyson.
Surely he got worse than that. Right.
In June 1999, 5 convicts tried to storm his segregation unit, and a riot squad had to use gas to disperse them. On February 21st, 2006, he admitted to sexually assaulting at least 10 other women in attacks not previously attributed to him. Most were in 1986, a year before the reign of terror and Scarborough rapists began. Authorities suspected Bernardo in other crimes, including a string of rapes in Amherst, New York, and the drowning of Terry Anderson in St. Catharines, but he has never acknowledged his involvement. His lawyer reportedly forwarded the information to the legal authorities in 2005. And in 2006, Bernardo gave a prison interview suggesting that he had reformed and he would make a good parole candidate. He became eligible to petition a jury to be allowed to apply for early parole in 2008 under the faint hope clause, since he committed multiple murders before the 1997 Criminal Code Amendment, but did not do so. So he didn't end up getting the early appeal. Or early
I don't think
parole.
he wanted it, dude. I think he was scared to come back out in society.
Yeah, for retaliation from family members or society.
Yeah, and there were plenty of family members that threatened him. They were like, if you ever get out.
Yeah, I would be one of them.
Yeah, it's
I
not
would be
going
one
to
of
be
them
better.
if he raped and killed my daughter. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. I would actually have already paid someone to shank him in prison.
Yeah, we figured something out.
Yeah, I thought about this already. Listening to the book, I was like, pay someone to shank his eyes. I want him blind and very painful. Yeah.
Shank his eyes.
Yes,
Oh my
dude,
God.
please.
In
2015
specific. Like, I want a
That's
fucking picture
the
too.
worst place I can think to get shanked. In 2015, Bernardo became eligible and applied for a day parole in Toronto, but it's unlikely Bernardo would ever be released from prison because of his dangerous offender status. In September 2013, he was moved from Kingston Penitentiary to Millhaven Institution in Bath, Ontario, where he's reportedly segregated from other inmates. Bernardo scored 35 out of 40 on the psychopathy checklist, a psychological assessment tool used to assess the presence of psychopathy in individuals. So yeah, he's
35 out of
just
40, not
about
bad.
Top-notch psychopath,
He
pretty
is
much.
definitely maybe top of the line psychopath right here.
Yep. In November 2015, Bernardo self-published A Mad World Order, a violent, fictional 631-page ebook on Amazon. Oh, cool. I didn't know he had a book that we can all go buy, huh?
Yeah. No, I think it was
Fuck off.
I think it's been removed. Yeah.
Yeah, fuck off.
It's in the next thing.
There's laws that prevent you from being able to make money on shit like this, right? As
Yeah.
a prisoner.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit.
I can't
It
imagine
was
he
a
would be a great
novel.
writer.
I don't know. Like, he was a smart dude. It may have
Yeah, I
been.
know. He's a college
may have
graduate
been,
and stuff.
I'm sure, grammatically it was great.
Yeah. Substance-wise.
Right.
I don't know. By November 15, the book was reportedly an Amazon bestseller, but was quietly removed from the website due to public outcry. Yeah, I don't know if everyone should be supporting this guy. In October 2018, Bernardo had been set to go to trial for possession of a shank weapon while incarcerated. His shank was 5 centimeters long, screw attached to a pen. Doesn't sound that scary.
I think it was just he just needed something that fit the definition, because this again,
He didn't want to get released.
He didn't
right?
want to get out of solitary, and
Yeah.
he knew if he got caught with a weapon, he's
Yeah.
going back to solitary.
Yeah. However, the prosecution dropped the charges due to their determination that there was no reasonable probability of conviction. Bernardo became eligible for parole in February 2018. On October 17th, 2018, my birthday yet again, he was denied day and full parole by the Parole Board of Canada. So it's just likely he's never getting out. It's like, even though he's up for parole, they look at him and they're like, should we ever let this guy out in the public? Like, he's a psychopath.
Right.
We've determined that through testing, and his crimes were extremely violent.
Right. What's he
And
testing now?
Repeat sexual offenders, we just know one thing. They keep repeating sexual offenses because
Absolutely.
it's just one of those
He's not
things
gonna
that you
stop.
don't really, you never really rehabilitate from sexual crimes. It just
It doesn't seem so, does it?
does not. No. Let's talk about prison for Karla. After her 1995 testimony against Bernardo, Holmolka returned to Kingston's prison for women. She was then moved from Kingston in the summer of 1997 to Joliet Institution, a facility called Club Fed by its critics. In 1999, Toronto Star reporter Michelle Shepard came into possession of copies of her application to transfer to the Maison Therese Casgrain, a halfway house. The story noted the halfway house's proximity to local schools. That didn't help. Holmolka sued the government after her transfer to the halfway house and was denied. Before her imprisonment, Holmolka had been evaluated by numerous psychiatrists, psychologists, and other mental and health and court officials. Holmolka reported to one of the psychologists, quote, remains something of a diagnostic mystery. Despite her ability to present herself very well, there's a moral faculty in her which is difficult, if not impossible, to explain. So she
I
even
think
had
he's
them.
saying vacuity.
She had she even had psychologists and stuff stumped as to what her real
So
issues were.
basically, they're saying that she has a hole in her where her morality should be, but they don't understand it as far as her actions.
Yeah.
She needs someone to act that out, right? Yeah, like someone like
Paul.
Paul.
Yes.
That's also called not having a soul, I think.
right.
No, just kidding.
It's hard to, it's difficult, if not impossible, to explain.
That is. And how much of this stuff was changed after she was released too, as far as publications and things?
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to just put, we don't really know. We couldn't find anything wrong with her,
Yeah.
but something seems amiss. It's easy to put that instead of actually.
We let this person with all of these, this, and this, mental issue out
walk
into
free
the
in the
public.
world. Exactly.
But it's easy. Yeah, like you said,
Right.
we can't put a finger on it.
Yeah.
She's okay.
She's fine.
Yeah.
I'm sure she's fine.
I'm sure she got us on a technicality. There's not much we can do.
Yeah.
We'd love to keep her locked up, but we can't do it.
Right.
Have fun with her. Have fun with her in the public.
Right.
At least she doesn't have Pole to act out these things.
That's
Paul.
true. Pole.
Old Pole.
Old Pole.
As Homolka moved through the Canadian prison system, there were incidents that shed light on her condition. In Joliet, Homolka had a sexual affair with Linda Veranu, or whatever her name is, who was serving time for a series of armed robberies and who eventually reoffended so that she could be sent back to Joliet to be with Homolka. So a beautiful love affair between these two ladies. Mm-hmm. While being evaluated in 2000, Homolka told psychiatrist Robin Menzies that she did not consider the relationship to be homosexual, as Verano saw herself as a man and planned to undergo a sex operation in due course. Okay. Psychiatrist
Trans man.
Louis Morissette, meanwhile, noted in his report that Homolka was ashamed of the relationship and hid it from her parents and the experts who examined her. Again, this demonstrated...
I can't believe she's even talking to her parents.
Right?
Like,
how
are your parents still in your life
after you told
after
them
what
that
you have done to them?
Did to their daughter and your sister,
like,
and everyone
dude,
else.
They have to deal with the fact that their daughter is dead. One of their daughters is dead. Then they have to deal with the fact that their other daughter is a murderer.
Yep.
And she had a part in killing their other daughter. Like, it's...
Some parents, there's nothing their kid could ever do that could ever stop them from being in contact and loving them, I guess. But I think I'd draw a line at a certain point, even with my own child. Oh, you killed your sister and raped her and then a bunch of other people too?
Yeah.
And you've never shown any remorse and you just point blame at the other person who was involved.
They're broken, right?
Yeah, man, I don't think I need to support you anymore as a parent.
Well...
I've officially failed and I give up.
Well, here's the thing. I mean,
point.
To successfully protect the rest of your family, you have to.
Right.
You have to. That sounds so harsh, man. I couldn't imagine having to deal with that.
No. Let's hope we never do have to.
Seriously.
A former veterinarian clinic and coworker and friend of Karla, Wendy Lutzen, told the Toronto Sun that she now believes Homolka's actions were those of a psychopath, not of an abused, controlled woman, which is what she'd made herself out to be after all this stuff came to light and they got caught.
Yeah, she played that part very well.
In a letter of apology to her family, Homolka continued to blame Bernardo for all of her misdeeds. Quote, "He wanted me to get sleeping pills from work, threatened me, and physically and emotionally abused me when I refused. I tried so hard to save her." Tim Danson, lawyer for the victims' families, has said that she never apologized to them. Homolka took correspondence courses in sociology through nearby Queen's University, which initially caused a media storm. She eventually graduated with a bachelor's degree in psychology. I don't think she needed it. I think she already understood.
I think she understood
humans
psychology
just well and how to play them.
Perfect.
Yeah, if anything, she should be teaching the class.
I love sociology, dude.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It really is.
During Homolka's release hearing, Morissette said then that the then 35-year-old did not represent a threat to society. Various hearings over the years have left to a mixture of opinions. If she posed any kind of danger, said a forensic psychologist for correctional services in Canada, it lay in the ominous but not unlikely possibility of her linking up with another sexual sadist like Bernardo. But like I said earlier, I don't think her likelihood is the same probability as us. I think she can find them. She can, you know what I'm saying? Like, she's a magnet to those type of people. So, like, I think she is likely to come across another Paul because she's looking for them.
I don't think she
maybe
is looking
consciously
for him
or
anymore.
unconsciously.
Well, maybe unconsciously.
I don't know if that leaves you.
But she got remarried. She's
I
remarried
understand.
with kids and stuff now. She's trying to volunteer at schools, and they're like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, I think that's a good call.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Quote, "She's very attracted to this world of sexual psychopaths. It's not for nothing that she did what she did with Bernardo," he told the National Post after reviewing her file. Like I said, she's very attracted to this type of person, and I think she's likely to find another one eventually. I don't think she should be out in public right now. I don't care that she got remarried.
Maybe
and had kids.
she knows that is toxic, and she doesn't want that part of her life.
Let's hope so, for Canada's sake.
When you have children, things are different.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. Well, for some. Some people have children and then they abuse and beat them themselves. That was one thing she was saying when she was still with Paul. Paul said that she was wanting to have a family of kids, like a bunch of kids with Paul so that they could do the same stuff to them.
Oh my God.
Yeah, man.
I forgot about that.
Where other inmates might apply for parole at the first opportunity, Homolka refrained from doing so, quote, because she was deemed a risk to reoffend. She was denied statutory release for 2/3 of the way through her sentence. In 2004, the National Parole Board ruled that Karla Holmolka must stay in prison for her full sentence, warning that she remained a risk to commit another violent crime. While the NFB noted that she had made some progress toward rehabilitation, it expressed concern that Homolka had begun corresponding with a convicted murderer whom she had met when they were both being held for different parts in a prison in Quebec. Thank you. She finds these fuckers, dude.
Yeah.
As a result, it was decided to keep her in prison. The Toronto Sun reported that Homolka had sex in prison with a, quote, a male inmate she now wants to marry. According to a former inmate, a friend of Homolka, Chantal Mineur, Homolka and the inmate stripped at a flimsy fence, touched one another sexually, and exchanged underwear. What a hot scene. Floppy fence, and they're just dry humping through it.
Yeah. And then they have a jersey swap at the end, but with underwear. They take pictures. Right. They're holding it up.
Jesus. At the same time, Mineur told The Sun, Homolka was still in a lesbian relationship with Linda Veronneau, who had spent $3,000 on her at Victoria's Secret. Maybe she was just using her.
That's a good possibility.
Which is Carlos kind of pretty good at.
Yeah.
The parole board reprimanded Homolka, quote, you have secretly undertaken an emotional relationship with another inmate, and evidence gathered seems to indicate that this relationship rapidly became sexual. On December 6, 2001, only 7 days before Homolka dumped Veronneau, a friend asked Homolka why she continued her lesbian relationship while being in love with a man. Homolka said, quote, I don't let go right now because I want my clothes and I want my computer. Pretty much explains it. She was using her.
Mm-hmm.
A rumor upon release, Homolka intended to settle in Alberta caused an uproar in that province. Quote, the most educated speculation has Homolka staying in Quebec, where language and cultural differences supposedly muted the media coverage of her case and where she'll be less recognizable. Another rumor suggests she will flee overseas, restarting in a country where her case is unknown, or sneak into the United States using an illegal identity to cross the border and living out her life under a pseudonym. So there was a lot of speculation as to where she would go once she got released.
She moved all over the place.
Yeah. Michael Bryant, Ontario's Attorney General, fought to get Homolka on the agenda in a meeting of Canada's Justice Ministers. Quote, he wants the federal government to expand the category of dangerous offenders to catch those slipping between the cracks. Bilingual and armed with a bachelor's degree in psychology from Queen's University, Homolka may choose to try and live a quiet life in Quebec where her crimes are not as well known as they are in English-speaking Canada. The French and Mahaffey families want even tighter restrictions on Homolka, including asking that she submit to electronic monitoring or yearly psychological and psychiatric assessment. I think that's fair. Upon release,
I really do.
You're saying, okay, she's okay to be released, but let's keep an eye on her for Christ's sake.
Because with advancements in psychology and things like that, they may find something. They may be able to pinpoint this disorder that she has or whatever the issue is now that they couldn't.
Yeah.
In the early 2000s.
Yeah. A 2-day hearing was held before Judge Gina R. Blau in June 2005. He ruled that Homolka, upon her release on July 4th, 2005, would still pose a risk to the public at large. As a result, using Section 810.2 of the Criminal Code, certain restrictions were placed on Homolka as a condition of her release. Good.
Yeah, that article comes in handy.
Yeah, she was to tell police her home address, work address, with whom she lives. She was required to notify police as soon as any of the above changed. She was likewise required to notify police of any change to her name. If she planned to be away from her home for more than 48 hours, she had to give 72 hours notice. She could not contact Paul Bernardo, the families of Leslie Mahaffey, or Kristen French, or that of woman known as Jane Doe, or any violent criminals. So she was also forced to be kept away from those types that I said she's attracted to.
Right.
She was forbidden to be with people under the age of 16. She was forbidden from consuming drugs other than prescription medicine. She was required to continue therapy and counseling. She was required to provide police with DNA samples. There's a lot of good.
Yeah. Or you could just keep her ass in prison and get all this stuff.
Yeah.
Save a lot of time and effort.
She found that loophole, man.
Well, I'm
she
glad
got that plea deal in just in time before the video surfaced. There was a penalty of a maximum 2-year prison term for violating the order. While this reassured the public that Homolka would find it difficult to offend again, it was felt by the court that it might be detrimental to to her as well because the public hostility and her high profile might endanger her upon her release. On June 10th, 2005, Senator Michael Buron declared that the conditions placed on Homolka were, quote, totalitarian. According to an interview with CTV Newsnet 2 weeks later, Byron apologized for saying that. On July 4th, 2005, Homolka was released from prison. She granted her first interview to Radio Canada Television speaking entirely in French.
Wow.
Did she learn French while she was in prison?
I guess, apparently.
Homolka told interviewer Joyce Napier that she chose Radio Canada because she had found it to be less sensationalist.
Wait a minute, dude. She's from Canada. Lots of Canadians speak
Canadian.
French. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. We're dumb.
I just forgot this case took place in Canada.
Yeah, we're dumb.
We're dumb.
Like, did she teach herself French? That's so interesting. That's a little insight into how dumb we are, guys. They were already screaming at us before it came to you. So she told this interviewer that she chose to be interviewed by them because it's less sensationalist than the English language media. She said that she had likewise found Quebec to be more accepting than Ontario. She affirmed that she would be living within the province, but refused to say where. She said she had paid her debt to society legally, but not emotionally or socially. She refused to speak about her alleged relationship with John Paul Gerbert, a convicted murderer serving a life sentence. During the interview, Karla's attorney sat beside her. However, she did not speak. Homolka's mother was also present, but off screen, although she was acknowledged by Homolka. So her mother stuck by her still. Wow. Crazy.
Yeah.
The national media reported in July 2005 that Homolka had relocated to the island of Montreal. On November 30th, 2005, Quebec Superior Court Judge James Brunton lifted all restrictions imposed on Homolka, saying that there was not enough evidence to justify them. So she's truly free at that point.
She was doing a lot as far as rehabilitation, though.
Yeah.
She was really looking the part from the outside.
Okay.
I kind of see it. At this point, I see why they granted her this.
Yeah. On December 6, 2005, the Quebec Court of Appeal upheld Brunton's decision. And on June 8th, 2006, Homolka's request to have her name changed was rejected. She had attempted to change her name legally from Emily Charia Tremblay, Tremblay being one of the most common surnames in Quebec.
That's smart. That would have been
right?
Smart,
yeah, it's just another Tremblay.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't that the name that George picked for his? He was going to be he wanted to tell people that he was an architect, and he chose like Art Tremblay, I think was his name, if I'm not mistaken. I always find a fucking Seinfeld reference, don't I?
Right. It's in there somewhere.
Yeah. Sun Media reported in 2007 that Homolka had given birth to a baby boy. Quebec Children's Aid said that despite Homolka's past, the new mother would not automatically be scrutinized. Several nurses had refused to care for Homolka before she gave birth. And on December 14, 2007, City News reported that Homolka had left Canada for the Antilles so that her now 1-year-old could lead a more normal life. News reports as of April 20th, 2016, 420, placed Homolka as living with her children in so I'm going to ruin this one, Chateauguay, Quebec. And so, yeah, she's off living her life. Family girl now.
Hopefully not listening to podcast.
I don't care. Fuck you, bitch.
Yeah, fair enough.
If she is, I hope you heard that.
Wow.
Fuck you. I hope you loved our show and then you heard our take on you and what a shitty person you are. And that I still think you should be locked up. I don't care if you rehabilitated.
You know how she says she hasn't repaid her debt socially? Or
she said she had. She said she had
paid it legally.
Legally, but not socially.
Not socially and something
I don't think you have legally. I don't think 4 years is enough for playing a part in abduction and rape and murders of young women.
Well, I think she's trying to say that
technically she did because she found that loophole with the fucking
She's free
plea deal before they had all the evidence.
Anybody in her situation would do that, though. It's not like if you have the opportunity to get away with it, you're not gonna not take it.
You know what I feel like they screwed up is that they already knew he was a Scarborough rapist based off of DNA. So they had him for 25 years minimum for all the series of rapes.
That's what I'm saying. Why do they need her?
So why do they need her plea deal to lock him away?
Yeah, they should have taken
They already had him for those rapes. If you don't connect him to the murders right away, why would you let her off that easy and take that plea deal when you knew also there was tapes out there? You just had to get a hold of them. And of course they ended up getting a hold of them.
Yep.
You know, it blows my mind that once they had that DNA, why were they just putting him under surveillance? Why didn't they just get him right away? DNA is conclusive evidence. It's as good as it gets.
Yeah.
It's better than eyewitness. It's better than anything else.
Yeah, who else she reminds me of? She reminds me of Bonnie Bonnie and Clyde, but much more sadistic,
Way worse.
obviously.
Way worse.
No, I'm talking about like the way that she probably appeared on the stand, the way she carried herself during trials, how she could flip a switch and be
the innocent
a
one.
princess again. Just like that.
She's been manipulating for a long time, so she knows how to do it.
And then get out of court and then go back with your dude. Or with people like that.
Find another murderer to get with. Yeah.
That was Bonnie.
Good times.
Man, that seems like forever ago we did that, huh?
Right. Bonnie and Clyde. I almost have to go back and listen to it because I already forgot the whole Bonnie and Clyde story for the most part.
Part one was rough, though.
That was a fun one.
That was a long one.
Yeah.
All right, want to get some responses?
Let's do it. Oh my Gaia.
Oh my Gaia.
Why is my beard awesome right now?
Right. Why do my pits smell like amazing Egyptian musk?
Did you notice I trimmed my beard and I broke our pact already?
Oh, I thought you were going to say pits.
Couldn't do it, dude.
I was going to say, no, I didn't.
I don't shave my pits. They're hairy, bro.
Yeah.
Deal with it.
Right. You trimmed up already?
I know, man. You can cut your hair if you'd like. I already broke our pact.
I've thought about it, man. I've really thought about it. I go through days where
dude,
I'm
beards get to that itchy stage, and I feel like I just look better clean shaven. I look a little trashy I'm not one of those dudes that looks awesome with a beard. My beard gets mangy real quick. Yeah. It's all curly and it's just not a good beard.
It's like a biker gang beard.
Yeah, dude. I look like white trashy when
you need to like soak your shirt in motor oil to have your beard long.
My own piss.
Yeah. You should. Yeah. You should just dip your beard in your
own
piss.
My beard looks like, when I grow it out, it looks like it would stink, even though it doesn't, because I use Oh My Gaia beard oil and I wash myself.
Right.
But it has that stinky look, and I don't like that.
It's just the look. It doesn't have anything to do with Oh My Gaia.
But if you're a stinky beard guy, get Oh My Gaia, use their beard oil.
And it will help your stinky beard.
It will help the stink, and it'll also help just keep it moisturized.
It's the best prescription for stinky beard, honestly.
It is.
It really is.
And for stinky pits, we've been told by several people who have finally tried it. They've been listening to our ads for Oh My Gaia. And they go, you know what? I'm going to try this stuff. You guys keep raving about it. I'm going to see if it's as good as it is. And every time they come back like, oh my God, I did like 3 workouts and I still smelled great.
Right. They're like, oh my God, you guys told us this was great for like 60 episodes. And then we tried it and it was.
And you guys actually aren't liars like I thought you were. Right. Oh my God. Oh my Gaia.
Or maybe this is the first episode of True Crime Guys you've ever listened to and you have no idea what we're talking about or why we're taking so long on an
So what is Oh My Gaia then, Michael? If
Oh My Gaia? Well, let me tell you, Lauren. It's an innovative all-natural deodorant, fragrance, and beard oil company specializing in paraben and aluminum-free products. Their innovative line of deodorants inhibit the growth of odor-causing bacteria while maintaining effectiveness. At Oh My Gaia, they use only all-natural paraben and aluminum-free organic ingredients. Like I mentioned earlier, I am wearing Egyptian musk today. But I have a lot of favorite scents. What's your favorite scent, Lauren?
True Crime Pine with our logo on it. And
that is another favorite.
Lumberjack.
Yes.
Is phenomenal.
There are tons of scents.
Fireside is amazing. She doesn't always have it in stock, Fireside, but man.
So you're mentioning more of the masculine scents. We got to
Sweet
be more
pea,
broad
my
here.
wife wears.
Vanilla, cherry almond, sandalwood.
I want to eat her pits when she puts sweet pea on. It smells so good.
Dreamsicle too.
Dreamsicle?
Yes.
Makes you
Dreamsicle.
Want some candy.
Honeysuckle, flower power. There's a ton of good ones. But True Crime Pine, as Lauren mentioned, has our logo on the side. It's pretty cool. It's got our faces on there.
Hell yeah.
And for any order, you can use the code CREEPER, CREEPER, for 15% off your order. And you can get that at ohmygaia.com, OHMYGAIA.com.
Do it.
Or at shop_ohmygaia on Instagram.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
You'll be glad you did.
Do it. I want to thank Killer Pens for these awesome T-shirts we're wearing right now.
That's right. Killer Pens. We're going to put a picture of us up on Instagram with the shirt designs. It's pretty dope because he modified his design to kind of fit our podcast in a way. So go check that out. We'll have that up it's probably already up by the time this episode.
Yeah, so you can find Killer Pens on Instagram. It's at Killer Pens. He's got all kinds of cool products and stuff on there. So
PENS. Pens, like pens you write with.
Yep.
Mr. David Truitt.
And we have something to give away. We have some stuff to give away for Patreon members, right?
We do.
We have the actual giveaway, but then also Electric Grave Studios, our boy over there, is sending us some John Wayne Gacy creepy clown pins. If you guys like pins.
Oh, yes.
We're gonna have 3 of them to give away right now. So 3 random Patreon members are gonna get a pin, and then 4th Patreon member is gonna get to pick anything from our store because we're doing our monthly giveaway. If you're a Patreon member, patreon.com/truecrimeguys gets you $2 a month, gets you into the drawing every month, and also gets you 20 plus premium episodes, bonus content.
We've been saying 20 forever.
It's probably like closer to 30 now.
Yeah, who knows?
And it gets you, most importantly, another podcast altogether, Michael's own Higher Thoughts podcast, where it's just him chilling in a certain state of mind, just rambling and answering questions from listeners, and it's an awesome show, man.
You're right. Lauren's on there. Hopefully,
It's like a chilled out version of Bill Burr's podcast.
Yeah. Yes.
It's just Michael rambling.
I don't get frustrated at all.
Yeah.
I do occasionally. I might scream away from the mic though. That's just fun.
So yeah, if you can't get enough Michael, man, that's where you guys got to go sign up. Patreon, $2 a month, gets you all that stuff, and it gets you into this drawing that we're about to do right now. You got all of our Patreon members pulled up so that we can do a random. We need a random number generator. So
yes, we do. Here we go. Okay, so fast forward a little bit. Since we have 4 winners this week, we decided to go ahead and do all that off the show because our hands will probably be tired of doing drum rolls.
So we've got our 4 winners. We did random number generator between 1 and how many active patrons we have right now? 6 something.
It's 650, I think. 600.
It can't be because the first winner was 687, so it has to be higher than that.
Oh, well, it's more than that. It's like 700 and something, I think, active.
Right. Well, thank you all for being Patreon members.
Absolutely.
And so, number 687, the big winner of our monthly giveaway for Patreon, meaning this person gets to go to any of our stores, our merch stores, and buy anything they want, and just let us know what you want, basically, and we'll send it to you.
You don't buy it first. You just let us know, and we'll buy it and send it to you.
We will buy it.
You don't pay anything. Nothing. Zilch.
Do nothing except tell us what you want.
Exactly.
January Marie was number 687. Congratulations, January Marie. You can now go to any of our stores and then just send us a screenshot of what you want. Tell us what color, what size, whatever, and then
and also
let us know your address if it's not already.
Right. If you're less than a $5 patron, then we do not have access to your address. So just send us an address you can send it to truecrimeguys@gmail.com. Probably the easiest thing to do.
Or DM us on anything if you want.
Yeah. Or on social media, True Crime Guys, whatever.
All right. So now we got 3 pins to give away from Electric Grave Studios. We want to thank Electric Grave Studios.
Yeah. Thanks,
Ryan. You can find them on Instagram or you can find them at electricgravestudios.com. These are pretty badass John Wayne Gacy pins. If you're into pins, they're your shit, man. They do dreadful pins and collectibles. They have all kinds of like horror movie stuff and also like serial killer stuff. And but this pin, it like glows in the dark. It's really pretty cool.
It's very nice craftsmanship.
Yeah, we're getting a couple for the studio, and then also 3 people from Patreon are getting them. The first number that came up for this giveaway was number 21, Diane Hutchings.
Oh, congratulations, Diane.
Congratulations. Hit us up. We will send you this pin as soon as we get them, which we should be getting them this week, I believe.
Right.
And then we'll send them out to you. So send us your address, and we'll get that pin out to you. And then number 47, Natasha Hatcher.
Congratulations,
you're getting a pin.
Natasha.
Hit us up with your address. And number 122, Rakol Kachet. Congratulations. You're getting a pin as well. Hit us up with your address.
Absolutely. Guys, as always, thanks for being patrons.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. And if you're not a patron, then thanks for listening to this, right? Go leave a review. Do your part.
Yeah,
when you listen to every episode, don't leave a review.
We won't crap on you this time for being a freeloader. People take that so personally.
So personally.
Quit being cheap.
It's very convicting.
I'm just messing. All right, y'all. Is that it? We got a Patreon episode next week?
Yes, we do.
All right.
And then another freebie after that.
All right.
And then we take a week off.
All right. These high school girls.
Oh.
I get older. They stay the same age.
It's not even funny.
Not with this episode.
Not to this case, right?
All right, y'all. We'll just shut up before we get to
let's just
keep creeping. Later.
True crime guys. In the desert, we like a mirage. It's okay if you clicked on us because you thought we was True Crime Garage. Now we ain't mad at you. Sit down, let us talk at you. I'm talking to the creeper army. We out here making murder. True crime guys. In the desert, we like a mirage. It's okay if you clicked on us because you thought we was True Crime Garage. Now we ain't mad at you. Sit down, let us talk at you. I'm talking to the creeper army. We out here making murder charming.